Drift Masters is back in 2025 and it's coming in hot. This season, 10 Drift Masters pros step into the sim to battle 40 of the last season's best virtual drivers in a showdown like no other. With 7 rounds of high-stakes action and top 32 broadcasts every Sunday, the stage is set for something legendary. And calling all the action, you may ask? It's me, Tiny, bringing the hype, the energy, and every tire-shredding moment. This is Virtual Drift Masters 2025. Let's go. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Virtual Drift Masters. I am Jonathan Tiny Warby, your host for the season, and right next to me is my main man, Matt the Ginge. As you guys know of, he is a spotter for Adam LZ. He's been spotting him even at Drift Masters. And Matt, give me an introduction, man.
Hi, my name is Matt the Ginge. Been spotting for around 5 years now into the drift scene. Competed as well, so I'm vastly within the drift community. I've been to a lot of tracks, both US side and Europe. I love Drift Masters, love Formula Drift, so I'm excited to see some awesome battles today.
Yeah, and it's a lot different because it's actually on the sim today because it's going to be a unique perspective for you. This is your first time actually getting in the booth commentating it, but you have a unique skill. You have a lot of good tools in your bucket that if I could ask you questions or you could run through different types of layouts or different types of attacks that these challengers are going to have, it's going to be awesome to have that in this event.
Yep, I've spent a lot of time behind the wheel of the sim rig and a lot of time behind the wheel in real life, so I'm ready to give my expert analysis of all of these runs and hopefully keep everyone entertained.
Yeah, and right here you see the season schedules. Every Sunday of each round there will be a top 32 competition, and you're going to see a lot of good action for these sim drivers. First place gets 1,000 euros, second place gets 600 euros, third place gets 200 euros. And then at the end of the season is 1,500 euros for first place and a VIP experience to Poland, as well as the other grand prizes for the second and third place. But all these competitors are out here. Ginge, give me a rundown over here, man.
All right, so this is a very flowing yet technical track. Outer Zone 1, very risk versus reward. You drop a tire, you could potentially go off and lose the entire run. Into that, Inner Zone 2, and then Outside Zone 3. You need a lot of flow into the outside zone. So looking at this track map, big flick on initiation, Outer Zone 1, fully deep. The second we reach the end of the zone, you want it inside Zone 2, right there, as close as you can to the clip. On the outside Zone 3, as wide as you can, then a big slowdown using angle, foot brake, whatever you can. Wide line to Inner Zone 5, onto the power, outside Zone 6, and then on the throttle all the way here, and then a slight slowdown after Outer Zone 7, and then a full power across the finish line after Outer Zone 9. This is going to be a lot of great tandem battles, a lot of doors open for drivers to get really up in the pocket, so it should be some great driving.
Yeah, and you analyzing this whole track is going to be amazing to see. Right here, we see our top 32 bracket sponsored by Drift Masters. You have Strom on the bottom and Ragnar Simulators for the production, going through it. On the left side, we're going to go on the left side of the bracket, then we jump over to the right side. These guys are the top of the top in the sim world. I'll give you their accolades as we get to each driver, but the first battle, you're going to have our first, it's going to be Poland versus Finland, A90 Super versus S14.9. This track, man, Matt, if you were there on the track, what is I know they do the track walks. What's something that you're going to be analyzing? I know in the sim, you can't really do a track walk, but when you're testing it out, what are you looking for?
I'm really looking for, how the line's set up, what the sort of, everyone falls into a certain groove of where they want to run these lines, and really looking in these power alleys and where people start to pick up throttle and where they come off the throttle for this big slowdown right here. I think there's a lot of opportunities for the chase driver to really make some, headway on getting up on the door. There's some slowdowns for you to make up some ground if you make some errors in the first half of the course. So there's no one area to lose in this course, and there's no one area to win. So it's definitely going to be a bunch of great battles back and forth. And I think, if you can throw down a good lead, you're going to have some great chases throughout.
Yeah, and we also have our judges here who are going to be doing. Actually, we have David Kalas from Drift Masters, who's one of the judges in this virtual series, as well as you have Maddie, who also judges in Drift Masters. He originally started on a sim and got invited to Poland for a judge, which is absolutely spectacular for these guys. But right here we have our first drivers, Robert Shavinsky, and he's in the A90 Supra, the great, more like a olive green, sage green A90 Supra. And then you have the S14.9 from Wallman, and Wallman, he's an absolute shredder out here. So with Drift Masters, you see them staggered here. That chase driver can do a jump like he just did, and when the light goes green, you got to make sure that you actually go off. But it looks like you got these guys out here shredding some tires. Here he goes. They're in that first inner clip going to outer zone 3. Transitioning is good. Here's that Poland driver driving as hard as he can. But here comes Finland in the chase, just getting as close proximity as possible, snapping. A little bit late transition on that second to last outer zone, transitioning all the way into this final outer zone. A huge dive into the pocket. Oh, man. That chase was up. It was risky when it was going to late. Matt, go over what you're seeing here.
Yeah, so I saw some mistakes from both lead and chase. That really early kind of initiation from the chase there, getting a little bit too inside, but he really falls back into the pocket here. On the transition, you can see that the lead throws a little bit too much angle into that outer zone, causing him to sort of have an inside line into that inner clip, kind of pinching the chase a little bit, but he did a great job at being able to keep up. Going towards the last half of the run, you can see the chase sort of choking up a little bit. I don't know if he's struggling with speed, but getting up in there, I think it was a great lead and chase by both, but both have compromises that they're going to have to fix in the second half of this run.
Now, you having the experience as a spotter, and you're in the ear of Adam LZ right now. Say this is Adam LZ. What are you telling him if he was in the lead, and what are you telling him if he was in the chase, perspective-wise?
I would say, take some risks, but nothing to completely throw away the run. You definitely have some things that you need to improve on, especially in the chase. Just getting a smooth, staying in the pocket, and not getting too choked up by, some of the mistakes that they have in the lead.
All right, here we go. Our second lap of this battle. Wallman versus Robert coming in. Oh, my God. The aggressive initiation from Wallman and the surge right off the rip from my man Robert in that A90 Supra. And then here comes that decel zone. Oh, no. Wallman goes wide on that second inner clip, transitioning in this power alley. Let's see if this A90 Supra will keep that pocket alive. And he's holding it right together all the way to this final outer zone. Ooh, I wonder what happened on that inner clip too, Matt. Well, you're gonna look at this drone.
Yeah,
replay.
it was.
What's your analysis?
It was definitely a great lead. There was that huge mistake around that inner clip there. You can see he throws it in aggressively, but the chase right up on the door, right where the judges need him to be on that seam between the door. But there's a lot of running away here. I think the lead thought he can kind of get away and overshot that zone, really missing that inner clip, which is going to be kind of detrimental to this lead run. But the chase, he's having some areas where he's struggling to keep up, and then others where he's staying in the pocket. So I think both lead and chase have their compromises. So it's really up to the judges to see where it's going.
Man, that's rough, especially when you're driving as aggressive as possible in this caliber of sim drifting. This is the top of the top. You have VDC, who is also a big, or I guess, organization competition. There we go. You have these sim guys here, and it looks like they have come to a decision. They're driving off. We're waiting.
Yeah, I think with these sort of things, lead takes a huge precedent on the terms of the run, because to have a good chase, you really need to have a good lead. So when you have even minor mistakes in the lead, it is definitely detrimental to how the chase can be able to get up in the door, and you really need a good lead in these situations. So they should be judged.
All right. Yep, and it looks like Rob gets the win. Robert is absolutely moving on. I would like to see the choice here to clarify the decision. Here we go. We have our next battle coming up here. We got Stanislav Tarasov versus Joachim Hau, Norway drift champion. He's a real driver, Joachim. He is driving the BMW E30. That E30 has been my favorite car on the sim here. Not that many people drive it. I know in real life some people that drive it, and they're actually shredder.
I love the small nimbleness of it. It should be a great battle. I think it'll be very technical and really be able to get up in the pocket there.
Here we go. And we have Stanislav is going to be in the lead from Ukraine. Ukraine versus Norway battle here. In that BMW G87. Let's see how aggressive he comes in here with a nice flick going into that first outer zone. Real conservative on that flick going into that first outer zone. But here's Joachim in the chase. Oh my goodness. Oh! Touches the back tire on his back tire, saves himself. Oh man, the judge is going to look at that to see if the lead driver wasn't there. Would he have spin out? Going into his final two outer zones, and a beautiful fill on that final outer zone. Man, that E30 came in
What
hot.
a beautiful lead that we had here. Aggressive flick in, a little bit extra handbrake more than I would like. Very smooth to the outer zone. You can see really opens up the door to the chase. They really just locked in these outer zones here. Into this, hard flick, contact from the chase, but lead was able to maintain his composure and keep on going through this run almost flawlessly, hitting every zone. Chase, you can see sort of choking up there. I think there's a lot of speed issues here where you really want to maintain that proximity, but you're getting that wheel-to-wheel, wheel-to-bumper action.
Yeah, we're going to have them switch sides here. You guys, like I was saying earlier, you're going to notice that the Drift Masters is getting rid of the chicanes. They're actually moving the chase driver back if they want, so they could get a jump on that lead driver. If that lead driver does not go on that green, they have 1 second. If they don't go, they have to rerun it. If they do it 2 times, it's considered a 0. Stanislav Tarasov is in the chase now, and Haug is in the lead. Let's see what that E30 could do. With that smaller wheelbase compared to the chase driver, let's see how aggressive he comes in here. Huge snap into that first, right to angle on that first outer zone. Nice fill out, diving into that inner clip. Beautiful lead as he's going into his decel zone. Huge angle, diving into inner clip 2. Oh my goodness, in the chase driver. Stanislav Tarasov keeping the proximity alive. Him going into this last outer zone. He gets lost in the smoke and then dives right back into the pocket. Super aggressive chase.
Very aggressive lead as well. On this initiation, you can see him snap right to angle and hop immediately back on throttle. But that obviously opens the door to the chase. The BMW right up inside of that smaller BMW there. And then huge angle around this inner clip, almost backwards. He was able to hop back on throttle, take that kind of mid-line through there. The chase still right up on the door. Coming through this second to last outside zone, you can see Chase choking up a little bit, but it keeps him perfect transition timing there, and then right on the door across the line. Slight gap there, but beautiful chase.
That was the coolest inner clip 2 that I've seen. When we were doing the media day, we were testing out our audio equipment and everything. We've seen these guys just attack, and I haven't seen someone hit that inner clip that way. And it was fantastic to see. Slider left for Tarasov, slider right for Haug, and it's a unanimous left for Tarasov, and he gets the win and moves on to the top 16. Our next battle are some guys that I've seen battle plenty of times. Great drivers. Nick Hang versus Devin Fancher. Nick Hang is in something that you probably aren't used to seeing, Matt. Ford Sierra he's going to be driving, and you got Devin Fancher with the E92.
Wow, that's going to be an interesting sort of run there. You know, you don't see many Fords other than, you know, Mustangs and drifting. So you see air out there. Even in the virtual world, it's exciting to see.
I love seeing the uniqueness of these drivers. That Ford Sierra right there, it sounds funny at times when people have been around drifting for so long, but then it looks great when it goes sideways. It's awesome to see. But here we go. You have AOM livery for Devin Fancher, who is the chase driver. You have Nick Hang in the lead. UK versus United States. Bang! Nice initiation, a little mid to deep line towards the first outer zone, diving into interclip 1. Oh my goodness! You see Devin Fancher rubbing his front tire on Nick Hang, and Nick Hang is trying to hang on to interclip 2. Devin Fancher is just riding the coattails of Nick Hang, giving him room on that power alley so he can transition and now dive right back into the pocket to the final transition on the final outer zone. Super aggressive chase from Devin Fancher.
Yeah, super aggressive lead on as well. That initiation, huge flick into the outside zone 1. Hops right on the throttle, opens the door to the chase right there. Chase starts to fall back a little bit towards the rear door through this outer zone 3, then big flick from the lead. However, I think he hops on throttle a little too early, gets a weird line, misses that inner clip there. Onto the power alley here. You can see up on throttle. Chase is starting to fall a little bit behind. You'll see a little bit choking up there. Back up onto the door of the lead. And then across the finish line. Chase is about to get in there. Still would like to see better proximity, but overall, great lead. Super aggressive, other than that missed inner clip.
It's right on point. It's really cool to see how I had the pleasure of commentating with other people that have been in different aspects or even been commentating for such a long time that they could pick up those minute details that you were picking up as well. It's amazing to see that, and great job on analyzing that little change of pace. Here we go. Nick Hang is in the chase. Now Devin Fancher is in the lead. AOM livery BMW coming in with a nice initiation, floating into that first out of zone, keeping the mid line, going into inner clip 1, and Nick Hang is hanging out to that door while they're going into this decel zone. Huge angle, a little bit of a tap from Nick Hang, but he is going bananas on this power alley, getting that close proximity, not giving Devin Fancher room, and just being really aggressive in the chase with that Ford Escort. Doors, baby! Oh, mercy!
Wow, a little bit more relaxed in the lead here. We can see a kind of mild initiation here in a mid line. I'd like to see a little bit deeper in the lead, but Chase right up on the door there, start to falling back. Great composure. In this transition here, Chase got a little bit too aggressive, a little too greedy, a little bump, but it was okay. Lead was able to continue his run and move on. Onto the power alley here. Good transition time. Chase, I think better than Chase here, was able to, you know, fall right on the door there, and then great transition timing, right on the door across the line.
That was maniacal. I was mentioning the AOM livery. AOM is a drift team on Assetto Corsa, Matt, and they're on almost every competition there is, and they have been striking a terror.
Yeah, I've driven with a few of them, met a few of them in real life at drift events. Yeah, great bunch of dudes, great drivers. So it's cool to see them out here and really representing.
Yeah, they've been out there, and especially we're both locals in Florida. They also helped design or help test out Orlando Speed World, which was cool with the ACS Geronimo, and he's been killing the game with making tracks. And we have our guys that make the virtual Drift Masters tracks, that they get the details from real world drivers so they could basically mimic the real life thing. So that's one great thing about Assetto Corsa with the sim. You drive on the sim. Have you drove on the sim with LZ or with your drivers that you spot? Oh, here we go.
Of course, as everyone can.
We got it left for Hang, right for Fancher, and it looks like it's going to be a one more time for this battle here. So they're gonna go
Yeah, I
back
think
to
both.
pits.
Yeah, both of them had
Right.
mistakes in the lead in the chase that I think they were small, but there's things they can both work on. Overall, it was a great lead and chase from both of them. But I would like to see a little more aggression in some of their initiations. The escort
Mhm.
was able to aggressively initiate, and then as well as the line through outer zone one. In the inner clip, that big slowdown seems to be really hairy for a lot of people. So the judges want to see a nice wide line through that outer zone and then power past that inner clip. And I think that's really going to be a determining factor for some of these things. Let's run it back.
Yeah. Yeah, we run it back. Luckily, tire changes is not as time consuming as it is in real life. So here we go. We got our drivers back in the line. Lick Hang in the lead. Devin Fancher in the chase. Our first one more time battle of the season. Here's Nick Hang with that Ford Escort coming in here with a big old Scandinavian flake. And oh my God, Devin Fancher almost side-by-side initiates with Nick Hang going to interclip 2. Devin Fancher is not holding back, using to shadow up that angle so he can dive into the pocket, using that front tire to rub up on that door in the power alley. Super aggressive going into his final 2 outer zones. Nick Hang gets a midline on that second to last outer zone, then gets super deep on that final outer zone. And my goodness, Devin Fancher was mimicking everything Nick Hang was doing.
Yes, super aggressive initiation there, but the chase right up on the door. A little bit shallow there. You can see he's kind of like up on the front fender area, but locks in right here. Transition timing beautifully. Could use a little bit more angle in the chase. You can see he's shallowing up, and I think that's trying to keep that proximity, but it pays off here. The transition timing, beautiful. Snap, snap. There you go, right into the outer zone there, and then this last outer zone, beautifully right up on the door, made himself known in the chase there. And on that initiation, judges recommended lead to tail initiation, but he made it work with that side by side.
That was absolutely crazy. There we go. We got our guys coming back to the line. So whenever you do sim driving, a lot of people, when they're in public lobbies, they'll just go back to pits. No, we try to mimic real life. They'll have to drive. They drive back to the front, to the start of the line, so they can have the same tires. So here we go. We have them on the same tires. Devin Fancher in the lead. Nick Hang in the chase. We have that Ford coming in here, getting super aggressive. Oh my goodness. Devin Fancher, it looked like he possibly lit off his tires a little too late on there, but he saved it. Going into his big decel, going into his interclip 2. Oh my goodness, the super nice angle, TV angle, showing the absolute tenacity of these drivers as they're going to the final 2 outer zones. Money all the way out there. Oh no, it looks like a tire drop from Devin Fancher and a little boop at the end of the track.
Yeah, lead in the BMW was a little bit late to light off there, it seemed like, but he was able to maintain that deeper line. However, the chase right up on the door the entire run. This transition here, great timing. He was able to kind of mimic the angle there, stay up on the door, cut the clip a little bit, but it kind of paid off here. These transition timing here, beautiful, right up into the pocket, right up onto that fender. In this second transition here, right there, and it looks like there was a little bit of tire drop, maybe a little contact across the line, but Robin's racing.
Oh my goodness. Absolutely maniacal Nick Hang with that Ford Sierra. It's a nice looking car, man. On the sim, I wonder if anybody would ever do that in real life in the pro setting. I know in in Drift Masters they have a lot of unique cars. You actually have 10 virtual or 10 real life Drift Masters who compete in virtual Drift Masters, which is awesome. You're gonna see a couple of them come up here and compete. The judges have come to the decision. Right for Fancher, left for Hang. And it looks like a unanimous decision. Hang gets the win. And
I think that chase was aggressive. I really liked how he traversed through this course. But yeah, overall great run.
Oh yeah. Oh man. That was a crazy good run. Follow Also, follow the social medias. You have Driftmasters Virtual on Facebook. You have the Instagram, Virtual Driftmasters. And we have a little bit of a feedback from the judges. There was a small margin to Nick, a slightly cleaner lead, and again, lack of angle matching from Devin in the chase. So what you analyzed earlier about on the chase, how he wasn't mirroring that angle, that's one of the big factors here. Now we have two Titans, Matt, here.
This is going to be a great battle.
You have Darius Austriaga, who was third place last year, and then you have Reese Tatterson, who was first place in 2021. We're going to see how they run. Reese Tatterson is in that Ford Mustang coming out here as Darius Austriaga in the BMW. Oh, and you see him controlling his momentum. Huge speed going into his inner clip. Beautiful fill out as we see Reese Tatterson with that RTR Fun Average Mustang trying to keep that proximity and mirroring angle. Huge diesel right there, but able to hold on. What an animal. And you see Darius just vibing out with his wheel. That caught me off guard. I knew we were supposed to do that, but hey, Matt, run us through this.
Super calm and collected in the lead. Midline through that outer zone 1, Reese right up on the door, but you can see him start to fall back, losing that. But what he does here in this transition, takes a little bit of a shallower line as a compromise to hop right back up on the door and not throw away the rest of this run. Transition timing there, Reese falling back a little bit up onto the door. That huge Mustang getting up onto the door of the BMW there. I think he's cutting line a little bit just to the speed difference. So it's nice to see, maybe in the second half of this run, this BMW might be right up in the door of the RTR Mustang there.
The cool thing about Reese Tatterson and Alan Hines are actually teammates on the sim, and they teamed up with RTR, not Racing Team Riga, the actual RTR from Juan Gitten's side for Formula Drift, which is awesome to see the collaboration between real life and virtual. But here we go. We got Reese Tatterson in the lead, and Darius, the Don Austriaca, in the chase. Here he comes, trying to get that proximity. Reese Tatterson was a little bit midline on that first outer zone and midline on that inner clip, but fills out outer zone 2 all the way through into his decel zone, trying to dive into that inner clip 2. Darius Austriaca is keeping the proximity alive, as he always do, telling them, I am here to give you a proposition that you will not refuse as you're going to this final outer zone. Beautiful fill out. Oh, a little bit of a shallow up angle with that Ford Mustang. Matt the Ginge, let me know what you think.
Yeah, I think Reese out in the lead, he definitely had some mistakes here. That initiation, he was shallow on the outer zone here, missed this inner clip, filled this outer zone, and then big flick into this outer zone. Around this inner clip, still missed it. Chase right up on the door though, able to make up with these mistakes. This transition timing, you can see in the lead, huge angle through this outside zone, biggest I've seen so far. And then in this outside zone, I think he starts to drop a wheel. Other than that, Chase was able to maintain proximity with some of those mistakes in the lead. So hats off to the Chase there. And then in the lead, I think, Reese has some things, some mistakes, but other than that, great battle.
It was a beautiful battle. And Reese Tatterson is one of the first sim drivers that I've seen hop behind a pro car after winning Virtual Drift Masters. There's a YouTube video. It was amazing to see the translation from sim to real life with them. It was so cool. I don't know if you checked out that video, Matt. Have you?
Oh, yep. I've seen him ripping Peter's car around. And for someone going from sim driving to real driving, it's crazy to watch people jump in and be able to just throw down in these pro level cars. I've always said that going from the sim side to the real life car side translates very well, but some drivers in the real life side struggle to get into the sim. I think not having the G-forces there really messes with your head.
All right, slide it left for Darius, slide it right for Reese. One more. It looks like a one more time battle here. Well, we're gonna see these two Titans clash one more time and one more again.
I think Reese had an aggressive chase. However, he had lots of mistakes in the lead, missing zones, missing inner clips. So what I'd really like to see from him is just clean up that lead, get deeper in the zones, focus on hitting your inner marks, and then, kind of repeat the chase that he had. And then for the BMW, just I need a more aggressive chase. With a good lead from Reese, an aggressive chase should really be attainable.
Of course, and it seemed like it was probably a very tit for tat that the points just for the judges just balanced out. But here we go. We got another one more time battle here. The second one more time, and it's two titans in the sim community. Darius Austriaca with his sim setup. Now here with the BMW coming in with a big old Scandinavian flick to that first outer zone. Lights off the tires right in the beginning of that zone. Going into this inner clip one. Beautiful fill out. Reese Tatterson with that Ford RTR Mustang coming in to dive into the pocket. On his diesel zone. Slows off enough to get right to the door. Not make contact. Just rub that tire on the front door. Going into his final two outer zones. Looks like a possible tire drop on the second and last outer zone. Then going into the final outer zone. Reese Tatterson on a tear. Holy smokes!
Absolutely loved that chase there, but the lead really made that happen. You could see Reese making a couple compromises, but overall, lead great, filled the outer zone, but Reese right up on the door, right in the pocket. Inner clip, beautiful. And then this big transition here, you can see Reese using that slightly bit of cutting line to come back in, get right up on the door. Misses his outer zone in the chase a little bit as a compromise. You can see those transition time, but set him up very well for these last two zones here. Across the finish line here, Reese is right up on the door. You can see him bumping and rubbing, so he is ready to get after it. So I want to see a beautiful lead from him, and then that'll open the door in a great chase.
That was maniacal. That was crazy. Reese Tatterson out here with that big old Mustang just representing. Now he's in the lead. Darius Austriaca is in the chase. Here we go. We got American Muscle versus German Engineering as Reese Tatterson coming in here and lighting off those tires. Oh, he's flirting with that outer line. But here comes Darius the Don Austriaca getting to the pocket of Reese Tatterson. Huge angle from that Ford Mustang. Oh, getting midline on the inner clip. Darius is able to keep up with him and going into this power alley. Beautiful transition. Another huge angle on the second to last outer zone. Oh my goodness. Reese Tatterson is representing RTR well, but Darius is right there, knocking on heaven's door.
Yeah, Reese definitely cleaned up this run. Nice flick and nice wide line. You can see Darius falling behind a little bit on that inner zone, but Reese misses that inner clip a little bit. Into this outer zone, huge flick. Using that angle to slow down the car, but still misses that inner clip a little bit. Chase not as close as I've seen before. There's some compromises here, but into this outer zone, back up onto the door, and then a smooth transition right to this last outer zone, right on the door, no contact. But overall, I think Reese had a great lead, filled the outer zones well. Little work needed on the inner clips, but overall, definitely an improvement over the last one.
Jeez, guys. Like, it's so cool to watch these guys drive. Like, a lot of people they look at these sim drivers and it's a video game, yes, but these guys are on wheels. They have a whole setup, a cockpit. You saw on the bottom left of the screen, that was Darius Austriaca live while he was drifting. It's absolutely skill and talent right there. Now, in real life, the G-forces you were saying before, going from real life to sim is a lot harder than going from sim to real life. You see a lot of drivers here that they go from sim to real life. Like you have I can't think of his name now. Oh man, it's gonna pop up later. I had a brain fart. Nick Novak. There we go. Nick Novak. He went from sim to real life drifting, and it's absolutely great to see how they perform here. Left for Don, right for Tatterson, and it looks like a split decision. Reese Tatterson gets the win and moves on to the top 16 and knocks off the third place of last year, Darius the Don Austriaca.
Yeah, that split decision is interesting. I think there was a lot of compromises. Reese, he was missing the inner clips, but he did have a more aggressive chase. So looking at that, tit for tat there, it's you as a judge, where do you see emphasis? And You know, being wide around inner clip still allows the chase to get up in the door. So there's these compromises that these drivers are making, and that can be the determining factor in your battle.
Man, now we have a nice tasty treat next. You have Cameron Mustard. He was the round 3 winner of last year, and he's going to be going against Virgil Choicet. Virgil Choicet is going to be in that BMW E36. Cameron Mustard coming in here with that Skyline and a nice initiation to that first outer zone, filling it all the way out as he's going to dive into inner clip 1. Beautiful. Going into this detail zone. Let's see how they perform here. And he was able to fill out inner clip 2. And my goodness, Choicet is keeping the proximity throughout that detail zone all the way to this power alley. And now here comes the final 2 outer zones. Let's see if the proximity is still alive. Oh, possible tire drop from Cameron Mustard.
Mustard using every inch of the track here. You can see nice wide line, big angle, and then using that angle to drive into that inner clip there. Chase trying to maintain proximity there. However, he's cutting the line a little bit. He's a little bit on the inside, a little bit shallow. So there might be some speed difference here. Coming into the outer zones in this power alley here, lead hitting every mark. Chase still a little bit short, and kind of driving behind that front tire rather than behind the door. This last outside zone, small gap still. So for the Chase, I think he has a lot to work with in terms of he needs a killer lead here. And then in the Chase, he just needs to maintain composure.
Yeah, for sure. And now we have them switching side. Let's see if Cameron Mustard becomes either yellow mustard or spicy mustard in the Chase. Virgil Choicet is in the lead. France versus UK coming in with a nice initiation from Virgil. And here comes Cameron Mustard just diving into the pocket, rubbing that front tire on that door, going into this decel zone and matches angle and slows down at the same time, massages the angle a little bit so he can keep that proximity and keep the momentum alive in the Chase. And Virgil Choicet is doing a great job filling out each zone as much as possible. But here comes Cameron, the spicy mustard, through that finish line.
Yeah, Virgil had a beautiful lead there. Hit pretty much every mark that you want to hit, but that really opened the door to Cameron. You can see nice wide line, but Cameron right up on the door, right in the pocket. Through this inner clip, both of them hit it beautifully. Both of them filled this zone. Transition timing, slow down at the perfect time. Both of them get exactly past this inner clip. Slightly mismatch of angle from the Chase, but overall maintaining that proximity and that composure that we wanted. Beautiful transition timing. You can tell that he's really kind of dominating this run in the Chase here. Gets right up on the door, little boop across the finish line, so made himself known. I think overall, great lead from the lead driver, but that Chase, that was, I think, a determining factor for him.
Mm-hmm. Slide it left for Mustard, slide it right for Choicet, and then it's a unanimous decision. Cameron Mustard gets the win. Man.
Yeah, I think Virgil had a great lead, and yeah, Virgil had a great lead. But when you have a great lead, you open the door to have a very good Chase. So what I really want to see from Virgil is a more aggressive Chase on his end. But Cameron was able to do both the lead and the Chase with the aggression level that we want to see and the judges want to see.
Yeah, the last time I seen Cameron Mustard was actually drive that car, I believe it was in Super Drift UK when I first started commentating on the sim, which was 2 years ago. He's been driving other cars ever since, just feeling it out, but he came back to that Skyline. But here we go, Daniel Andrejey versus Vitaly Isaev. Daniel Andrejey is second place. Was second place for last year's Virtual Drift Masters and championship points, and he also is season 9 champion for DCGP. And here we go, Daniel Andrejey in the lead, coming in here with that BMW. We have IRT team battle going into this first outer zone. Beautiful fill out as Vitaly Isaev is keeping that proximity, and Daniel Andrejey in the lead, ripping that e-brake a little bit so he could get into that inner clip. Vitaly Isaev is not letting him go as we're going into the power alley. Beautiful transitions from both drivers, and I cannot believe how aggressive his Chase is right here, just mirroring angle the whole way.
You can tell these guys practice together because they know what each other are going to do in each run. This beautiful outside zone, completely fills it. Chase right up, right where he needs to be, right on that door. Both of them, you can see the Chase, a little bit left foot braking. You can tell he's holding back, but beautiful composure, beautiful positioning behind the inner clip. He's mimicking exactly what the lead is needing to be doing, but the lead is throwing down that beautiful run, allowing the Chase to get up in the pocket. This last transition here, right up on the bumper, then right up on the door, you can see the left foot braking. He's holding that car back, so in the lead, he's going to let it rip, and we're going to see, I think, a beautiful battle here.
Last time I've seen a Z4 drift in a competition was, I want to say 2010, 2011 in Formula Drift, and now we're seeing it come back in the sim. That's awesome to see. Here we go. Daniel Andrejey in the chase. Vitaly Isaev in the lead. Here we go. A big old Scandinavian flick going into that first outer zone. A little bit of a tire bump from the chase driver going into his inner clip, but he's able to keep that alive and not make any more contact, and they are matching angle going into that inner clip 2 into outer zone 4, going all the way through this power alley, giving them some room into this final 2 outer zones. And Daniel Andrejey has a lot to do for his money right here as he is matching the angle through the final outer zone. Daniel, I don't know.
Yeah, I think that was a very good lead. They both have very, calm, composed leads, hitting all their marks. You can see a little bit of contact from the chase. I don't know if he's getting too aggressive in the chase here. That contact causing him to go a little bit inside, a little bit shallower on angle here. You can see huge flick from the lead, using the momentum and using that angle to slow the car down on the power alley. Good transition timing, right up on the door through the zone, but you can see Chase starting to fall back a little. Good transition, but he's a little bit shallow. So lead was, maintaining that outside line, running that outer edge, and Chase was a little bit choking up a little bit. So that speed issue that we saw in the beginning where we saw the Chase left foot braking, I think that came to play in his lead.
My goodness. Well, we're going to see what the judges have deemed on this one. This is a fun little layout, especially this is going to be a new layout for Drift Masters. What are you thinking so far of these battles?
Oh, I'm liking it. I really like the acceleration and the slowdown. The acceleration and slowdown. This track allows for the chase driver to flourish. So most tracks are very lead dominant and you don't really have an opportunity to shine in the chase. But this, you have so many areas to open up the door and allow the chase to really get in and show what they're made of.
All right, slide him left for Andrejey, slide him right for Isaev, and Isaev gets the win. I see the chat. Z4s are actually common in competition. They just have Toyota badges on them now. That's funny. Oh my goodness. Vitaly had the small advantage. Few mistakes from Daniel on his chase. So we got them coming out here. The next battle that we'll see is Linus Turnquist. He's going to be in the G87 versus Krzysztof Rabina. Krzysztof Rabina is going to be in the S14. He's a 2-time DCGP champion. And DCGP is another pretty well-known sim drifting competition. You have a VDC and DCGP are really well-known competitions here. Now, Linus Turnquist, he's an absolute baller of a driver. Let's see how he performs. Linus Turnquist in that BMW. Remember that as a wake livery rips open that e-brake and makes his car awake going into his inner clip. Oh, beautiful fill out under zone 2. Transition into his decel zone and then lights off the tires a little late. Looks like he was a little bit far from that inner clip, but we have Linus Turnquist able to get back on throttle in that power alley so he can fill out the rest of the outer zones. Let's see, nice angle as Krzysztof Rabina is keeping the proximity and following the lead car wherever he goes.
Yeah, you can see this lead, beautiful wide line, but Chase right up onto the door there. Beautiful initiation for both of them. Coming into this slowdown here, you can see that lead a little bit weird on the throttle here. I think he was trying to make it to the inner clip, and I don't know if there was contact from the chase, but he was able to make it work. Both of them hitting their zones. transition timing a little bit off from the chase there, but positioning himself well right up onto the door, right across the finish line.
I think with the lead driver going into that second inner clip, he might have felt like he was going a little too fast, so he ripped the e-brake a little bit. That made him float out a little bit further, but we'll see how they perform here. Krzysztof Rabina is in the lead. Linus Turnquist coming out here. Oh my goodness, nice initiation, but possible tire drop on the first outer zone as Linus Turnquist is in the chase, and Krzysztof Rabina is going to be in the lead. Huge angle going into that inner clip, able to dive right back in, but oh my goodness, Linus Turnquist just punts that inner clip as they're going through the power alley. Beautiful fill out from the lead driver, joins in his final outer zone. Krzysztof Rabina is absolutely maniacal with the throttle and the manipulation of his wheel.
Yeah, you can really see the aggression from the chase here from Linus. You know, he's right up on the door here. It almost looks like there was contact on initiation, maybe not. But coming through this inner clip here, you know, he was able to position himself well. However, inside line, center punches that inner clip, but it was a compromise he made to keep that proximity. Through this power alley, missed that outer zone in the chase a little bit, but lead, keeping the composure out front. Nice wide line, good transition timing, and then both of them wheel to wheel, door to door, right across the line. I think that last zone is very interesting.
It kind of looked like Linus was pushing him across the line at the end. I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, you could tell that in the chase, he really wanted to make his aggression shown. And he was, you know, fighting for that proximity, you know, making those compromises where he could, like cutting that inner clip. But, you know, that could be a bad compromise on his end, depending how the judges look on it.
It's just been battle after battle. I love this track because of the raw, I guess the raw inputs of these drivers, and it's an actual battle for chase and lead. But here we go. We got the judge's decision. Krzysztof Rabina to the right, Linus Turnquist to the left, and it goes to Krzysztof Rabina in the top 16. Wow, that was fantastic. Yep. But yeah.
So it looks like those compromises paid off.
I was saying the layout, it makes it more human, I would say, for the sim world, because you go to different tracks and if they're driving robotic, it doesn't feel as real compared to in real life when you're seeing these guys surging and trying to get that, being more strategic on that surge. Matt, it's absolutely beautiful.
Yep, and the thing I love about this track is there's no one way to win, there's no one way to lose. You got to complete the whole track.
All right, we saw Darius Austriaca earlier, but we have his brother here, Martinez, with that E36. He's going to be in the lead. And then you have Ömer Bagdatli in the chase from Turkey in the Sherry A5. Here comes Martinez coming in with a nice initiation, and you see Bagdatli in the chase in virtual reality trying to keep up the proximity with Martinez. Martinez is being absolutely technical with that BMW. A little bit of a boop. Oh, a huge correction from the chase driver, but they're going into this power alley as they're going to the final two outer zones. Martinez, possible tire drop, but is able to get all of that zone into the end. Beautiful attack there. Oh man, that chase.
Yes, nice wide line from the lead, maybe a few tire drops here and there, but keeping the door open for the lead, or the chase. The chase choking up a little bit. If there might be some sort of speed issue here. You can see he's cutting line to try and get up in the pocket. Same thing we've seen, a little bit too much angle, little rear wheel to rear wheel tap there through the power alley. Chase is getting gapped here, so he needs to make up that line, which he does by cutting some line a little bit. I think the chase, you know, he really is struggling keeping up with the pace of the lead there. So switching these runs around, I think we should see some good door-to-door action.
Martinez is going to be now in the chase here. As you see, Bagdatli in the lead. Here we go. as we go into this initiation. Beautiful fill out. Oh no, it's huge tire drop on first outer zone from Omar as he is going into outer zone 2 and transitioning to the Z-cell zone. Martinez is just keeping a safe distance because it might be a connection issue from what he's seeing, but able to transition into his power alley, matching the angle, flowing right with Omar as he is going all the way to the final outer zone and snapping right to angle as rowdy as possible, but Martinez mirrored him the whole way.
Yeah, I think he really realized that, he had mistakes in the chase and he had to throw down in the lead. Looking this, I don't know if it was 2 tires off, which might be a 0, but other than that, both the lead and the chase were able to keep it on track. The chase able to keep it calm and collected behind him. He just knows he has to get in the zone, get in the pocket, and not make any huge mistakes. He was able to keep with him, fill the outer zones right behind him in the lead. You can see that small connection issue from the lead there, but doesn't phase the chase driver. Good transition timing, filling the outer zone, mimicking the lead driver there. There was a huge mistake on that outer zone 1 that I think might be very costly to him.
Slider left for Austria, slider right for Amard. And Austria gets the win and moves on. Martinez! Great job. Man.
I think in the chase there, he just knew he needed to be calm and collected, just kind of fill the zones behind the lead. He knew he had it in the bag, so just don't make any huge mistakes.
Yeah, and we have the left side of our bracket of the top 16. Martinez, he's been an absolute animal whenever he's on the sim. You'll always see him in public lobbies to feel out everything. Okay, and Martinez is absolute shredder out here. You have Cameron Mustard, Reese Tatterson, you have Stanislav Tarasov. These guys are no joke. Matt, what are you feeling so far seeing the sim? This is your first sim you've been a part of competition wise, right?
I've competed my fair share on sim driving side, but announcing this is my the first time behind the monitor here and behind the mic, so hopefully I'm giving some good insight and helping these battles along. But overall, I think great battles so far. And then once these drivers start getting into the top 8 range and stuff, they're really going to lock in, and you're going to see these battles that are going to look one more time because these drivers are so locked in.
Yeah, you have a lot of these drivers here. You have, Zach Sullivan. He's a VDC driver. He's an absolute shredder. He's rocking the E46. He's with Ryan Literal's team in real life. Yep. You have Braden Swan, another AOM member, I believe. He's been shredding. You're going to see a Dodge Viper this year, which we didn't see last year, which I love Mopar, but hey, that's just me.
Yeah, those Vipers in sim, in person, they're rippers. So it's interesting to see the seating position in all of these different drivers and different cars that are able to really throw down. And this track is, like I said, the good mix between flowing and technical. And these drivers have a lot of areas to really make themselves known.
Yeah, and you have we have Nico the Kid Stella, who is a DCGP Season 10 champion. Kid's an absolute maniac when he's driving. You also have Polish drift champ Lukasz Tashaminsky, who's a real driver. He's using the same car as well as Paweł Corpalinsky, a Drift Masters driver, and Adam Zawiski, another Drift Masters driver. Those two guys are maniacs on the sim, and they're absolutely great people to talk to.
Oh yeah, and they're absolute shredders in real life as well. I had the honor to spot for them and really nitpick some of their driving when I was over in Drift Masters, and yeah, they're great drivers, and these should be some absolute heater of battles.
Man, oh man. The layout here, I could only imagine how it'll feel at the real life. I left the one thing with sim, so doing I've done Sebring out here in Florida. I do the Pro-Am series. I did a little miniature competition on the sim to kind of get warmed up. This is my practice, Matt. But when you go to the real life event, the energy, when you go as a spotter, what are you feeling and what are you talking to your driver about?
Yeah, so a lot of things, as a fan, it's great to go and just see, oh, like these are great battles. But when I go as a spotter and stuff, I really have to nitpick every single driver, as well as tell my driver every single thing they're doing wrong and what they're doing right. So what we'll do is we'll kind of work our way through the course and say, hey, you're shallow here. You need to change your transition timing here. Move this back a little, just to really dial in the course and get consistent. Consistency is going to be the thing that's going to get you into the top 4 and eventually onto the podium.
All right, we got our next battle. Zacho Sullivan in that BMW and Sam Cudy, man, with that A90 Supra or A80 Supra, which is going to be great. Here we go. Zacho Sullivan. He's a back-to-back VDC champion coming in here with that BMW, getting super aggressive. Lights off the tires right on time as Sam Cudy is getting right in the pocket as Zacho Sullivan fill out inner clip 1. Beautiful transition going into his second inner clip, lighting off the tires, little midline on that second inner clip, but here comes Sam Cudy keeping that proximity with that BMW as he transitions to the final 2 outer zones. Looks like a possible tire drop on the second to last outer zone and then going to the finish line. Beautiful.
Yeah, you could see Zach's tires absolutely glued to every outer zone. That as far as you can to the edge of the track he was getting. That opened the door up to the chase. You can see A9 or the A80 choking up a little bit line there, and then starting to get a little bit of gap, but beautiful transition timing here, maintaining that composure, maintaining that angle. Zach missing that inner clip by maybe 1 or 2 stripes there, but able to keep those outer zones going. So luckily those inner clips aren't detrimental to his run here. The chase here, choking up line a little bit. You can see him kind of struggling to keep up through those last outer zones, and the last outer zone seems to be very dominant for a lot of chase drivers, so he has some work to do in the lead here.
You also saw with Zacho Sullivan's second last outer zone at the end of it, his front tires lit up because he was trying to left foot brake to possibly slow himself down, getting ready for that transition. But here we go in the chase, Zacho Sullivan, and with the lead, Sam Cudy. A80 versus BMW, Toyota versus Germans coming in. Oh, nice initiation, real floaty into that first outer zone, being conservative. But Zacho Sullivan is not conservative. The American-made drifter coming in here, getting right to the door of Sam Cudy into inner clip 2, and a beautiful fill out going into that power alley, trying to dive into the pocket, going into the second to last outer zone as he is going into the final transition. Dives in from the smoke show as Sam Cudy gets across the line.
Yeah, beautiful lead from Sam there. He really hit every zone that he needed to hit, including the inner clips. But Zach was right up on the door. He was able to really close the gap here across that inner clip and maintain that proximity through that shallow angle of that power alley there. Might be some contact there, but both of them hit their inner clip perfectly. Into these outside zones, transition timing was on point from Zach. He was able to maintain that composure and really lock into the pocket there. A little bit of gap here across the finish line, but overall, I think Zach had a calm and composed chase run there.
Yeah, Zacho Sullivan shows his accolades, but he showed his skill here, and it looks like he did get the win. Unanimous decision for Zacho Sullivan. He is moving on to the top 16. Oh man, watching these guys drive, it gets me so excited. It gets me tongue-tied because they're running up. I said Toyota versus Germans. I was going to say Toyota versus German engineering because Zach came in really aggressive on the chase.
Oh yeah, I think that chase sealed the deal for him, and it kind of made up for the mistake that he made around that inner club. His lead was very good. They had very comparable leads, and Zach just missing that inner clip, but his chase was enough to overturn that decision.
Here we go. Braden Swan in the 370Z AOM team member as well, and you have Juan coming in the chase with the Dodge Viper. I'm excited to see how this Mopar performs as AOM coming in here with the 370Z, gets right to angle, but keeping a shallow line on the first outer zone as that Mopar or no car is getting right to the door, and huge huge decel right there. Oh no, Braden Swan falls a little bit shallow, actually almost barely touching the clip, going into the second to last outer zone. Beautiful fill out as these two drivers are going in here. That Dodge Viper is getting right to the door now, and that's a very crucial mistake that Braden Swan had.
Yep, aggressive initiation, but came up short in the zone. You can see him choking up. Chase was able to maintain proximity on the door, but starts to fall back here. Overshooting in the lead, missing that inner clip, and the Chase was able to take that shorter line to maintain the proximity there. Through the power alley here, you can see the transitions were good timing, a little bit shallow from the Chase there, and that little proximity gap. In the Chase, I think he has a lot to work with there. There were some gaps, but in the lead, there was definitely a huge mistake, especially on that outer zone 1 being shallow.
All right, we have them switching sides. Juan is going to be into the lead as Braden Swan jumps the line so he could try to keep the proximity right off the rip. He knows he needs to make up from that lead, and as Juan is filling out the first outer zone and getting all of that inner clip and outer zone 2, transitioning is beautiful, diving into inner clip 2 as Braden Swan is keeping the proximity all the way through, not letting him breathe as they're transitioning through the power alley to the second to last outer zone as they transition to the final outer zone. Beautiful fill out from the Dodge Viper, Juan Ortiz.
Yeah, that initiation, little tire drop, but he was able to fill the entire outer zone. So I think that really helped the Chase get up into the pocket. You can see the Chase very aggressive right up on the door with the lead, hitting all these zones, big angle, using that angle to slow down around the inner clip here. Hits the inner clip perfectly, but Chase right up on the door as well. Through the power alley, good transition timing from both of them getting into the zones. Chase right where he needs to be, right up on that fender there. And then his last transition, lead beautifully on that outside zone, but Chase is right there.
Right. And the judges believe they have come to a decision here. They're going to be reviewing it. Here comes the board. Slide to left for Braden. Slide to right for Juan. And Juan gets the win. The Dodge Viper moves on to the top 16. The judges said Juan got it because his lead was better. And I believe that's what you were saying, Matt.
Yeah, the leads are very important because they really open up the door to have a great chase. So him not being shallow in outer zone 1, not really missing the clips, using the angle to slow down, it really leaves the door open for the Chase to get right up in the pocket and make those beautiful runs. So weighing the lead heavily is important in my eyes because it really makes the show happen.
We have our next drivers coming up to the line. It's gonna be Peter Pelinkovich versus Lucas Pasqueeni. Lucas Pasqueeni is in the E82, and Peter is going to be in the Ford Mustang. Here we go. The lights are green. American Muscle versus German Engineering again here as Peter is going into that first outer zone and filling it all the way out. But here comes Lucas Pasqueeni, AOM, just riding that door of Peter as they're going into the C-cell zone. Huge contact, another contact from the Chase driver, but Peter is unfazed with it. He's gonna fight through the contact to fill out each zone as much as possible. Another contact on the second to last outer zone. Lucas Pasqueeni is trying to be super aggressive, but I feel like that's gonna bite him on the tail.
Yeah, you can see great initiation from both drivers. Beautiful snap to angle, right up onto the door here. Lead filling the zone, and then right through, filling all of these zones here, but this is when it starts to get hairy. Transition, lead is using the angle to slow down. Chase, really getting up in there and being over aggressive. I think he was, waiting for the Mustang to get up onto the throttle, and he just wasn't. Another contact here, which is, I would say on the Chase there, you'd have to look at slowdown, but, over aggression in the Chase, and this is something that can really be bad for your run. So he's really going to have to make something happen with the lead.
Yeah, Lucas Pasqueeni is going to be in the lead. Peter Pelinkovich is in the Chase. And Ford Mustang is going to be trying to jump to get as close as possible to Lucas Pasqueeni as he is getting a nice fill on the first out of zone with the lead. And here comes Peter just rubbing the tire on that door and then getting to the back quarter panel and a huge slowdown. And Peter holds it together and keeps the drift alive as Lucas almost backies into the second inner clip. But here comes Lucas Pasqueeni going to the final outer zone. Peter is absolutely diabolical with that Ford Mustang.
Oh. Lucas with the beautiful lead there, but Peter able to keep it right up in the pocket there. Immediately on initiation, up on the door, keeping it kind of shallow, but calm and composed here. And then the aggression comes on here. Through this transition, huge angle from the lead, doesn't really phase the chase. He cuts line a little bit, but the proximity is there. Through the transition, beautiful transition timing, lead filling every outside zone, and then through this last transition, right bumper to bumper, chase is a little bit shallow, but looking after the first run, he didn't really have to go that hard in the chase in my eyes because the mistakes, but we'll see how it goes.
And it looks like the Ford Mustang gets the win. Peter moves on to the top 16. Man, oh man. You have
I
two
think
Mustangs now in the top 16.
Yeah, I think the Mustang there, he had a great lead, and he was decelling in the areas that he was allowed to decel in based on the track map, and the contact was just too much from the chase, and that was really killed the chase driver's run there. He had a beautiful lead, and that opened up the chase for the Mustang to get right up on the door.
And here we go. We got Nico, the kid Stella, DCGP champion for season 10, and you have Alan Hines, 2 times VDC champion, DCGP champion, as well as a Drift Masters driver. This Irish lad is gonna shred some tires with that S14.3 coming in here. Nico the kid Stella getting right to the nice angle as Alan Hines is just, wow, he's almost inside of the car of Nico the kid Stella as he is diving into the pocket and using that track where he needs to be. And then going into this power alley, beautiful fill out from Nico, and going into the second to last outer zone, riding the outer edge of the track, going to the final outer zone. What is going on? Alan Hines, absolutely bonkers, dude. Oh my God.
Insane. That was a beautiful lead run, but like I've been saying, that opens the door for Alan to get right up in there. Rubbing is racing, and that's what we're seeing right here. Both of them hitting all of their zones, beautiful transition timing, matching angle, matching speed, pretty much inside of each other's cars, hitting every outside zone. Alan is just dominating this chase run here. Both of them hitting this outside zone, transition timing on the bumper, and then across the finish line. I think, that was a beautiful lead, little contact across the line there, but, Alan was able to read him like a book and see exactly where he was going to go.
I gotta figure out if Alan Hines has like a little cup, a Guinness cup, and there's water in there, so he's like Takumi in Initial D. But you see on the bottom right, he's so focused as he is going in to the second half of this battle. Alan Hines coming in here with a Scandinavia flick to the first out of zone and lights off the tires just right as Nico the kid Stella is right there in the pocket, just rubbing that front tire on the door of Alan Hines, letting him know he's there. Oh my word, Nico the kid Stella being super aggressive. Escuco team coming out here to let Alan Hines know what they're all about. Looks like a possible tire drop on the second to last outer zone, but Nico the kid Stella is right there changing his Spotify playlist as they're drifting across the track. Oh my God.
I'm not sure if these drivers have spotters, but Nico heard be aggressive, and he was. Beautiful initiation, almost more angle than Alan in the lead there. You can see both of them beautifully around that inner clip. And then this transition timing, just like Alan was in the chase, both of them matching angle, matching line, a little bit of contact around the clip, but doesn't phase Alan, it looks like. Transition timing through each other's bumpers, perfect timing. This is going to be a very close battle. Small proximity, loss there, but he really makes it up across the line. A little bit shallower on the angle, so we're going to be splitting hairs on this battle, but overall, I think both showing in the lead and the chase.
Nico showing off the engine model in his 400Z. Oh man, he's such a character. A lot of these guys are characters. Some of them would have the wave with us by flipping up and down their hood. But
Oh, respect to the
Nico.
modders too, because they spend a lot of time building these cars and
Hmm.
putting every little detail. So to be able to see these cars and all their detail, you know, it really shows what how much work they put into these.
Yeah, these guys are absolutely shredders, and the modders. Man, I've sat in Discord chats where modders are spending hours on end modeling the car, making sure that it looks right, and then even the livery designers here too. Absolutely talented. Nico to the left, Alan Hines to the right. And it looks like a split decision. Alan Hines gets the win. Wow.
Yeah, that was a beautiful battle between both of them. You know, I think there was, you know, some small mistakes in the chase from
Mhm.
Nico that that probably handed the win to Alan. But like I said, we were going to be splitting hairs on this battle, and I think that's what we saw here. When we can get the judges to not agree, that's when you know it's a good battle.
Yeah, for sure. And looking at the next battle coming up, you have Artem Chokeov. He's going to be running the G87. You have Lukasz Tashaminsky, a Polish drift champ, and he's using his real life car in the sim. So it's a real life battle. It's going to be great to see how these guys are using this as a tool to benefit themselves in any competition. As you see, Paul Corpalinsky later on and Adam Zawiski as well. We're going to see how they perform here. And if you guys haven't, please like and subscribe the stream on YouTube and Twitch channels if you're watching on Twitch. Appreciate the support for the future. Oh, it looks like... Oh, they were just testing. I think they were just testing the judges panel. I thought they were trying to confuse us a little bit. you see the
You know,
drivers
whether
here
either
having a
way,
good time.
I wouldn't be upset with seeing that battle again. That was a great display of driving, and I think one of the top battles that we've seen all day today.
Oh, is it a
It looks like
Windows?
they might
Hold
be
on.
running it back.
Getting a clarification from the judges. Hold on one second here. Oh. Alan Hines is going in reverse. Okay, no, it was not a one more time. Okay, we have Nico, the kid Stella got knocked out from what I'm seeing. Unless the judges changes. So we have our next or our final battles for the top 32. Artem Chokeov versus Lukasz Tashaminsky. Lucas is in that S14. Artem is in the BMW. Oh, here we go. We got two live cameras here, baby. You got one guy with a triple screen setup. I believe Lukasz also has a triple screen setup. And this is going to be a treat for you guys. Here we go. Artem Chokeov in the lead. Lukasz into the chase. It's Artem Chokeov coming in here. A beautiful initiation going to that first outer zone. And here comes Lukasz Tashaminsky right there holding the pocket as Artem Chokeov is going to the second outer zone. Nice transition. Lukasz is right there. A little bit shallower of an angle as they're going to interclip two. Now the power alley is done by Artem Chokeov laying down artillery fire on this track with this fire lead as he's going to the second to last and final outer zone. Oh my God. Woo.
Yeah, Adam really displaying dominance in that lead there, was able to immediately snap to great angle there, fill the zone completely, but chase right up on the door. You can see this chase start to lose a little bit of the angle. Beautiful transition through the bumper, but we start to see that loss of angle here, and I think that's, you know, he's dealing with a speed issue. So transition timing, great there. Starting to lose that proximity, then you can see him start to shallow up. I think that's, you know, partially due to trying to keep up with the lead there, but overall, you know, great proximity, and proximity is king in these battles. But I would like to see more angle from the chase there.
All right, we got Lucas now switching sides. He's going to be in the lead. You see him shrugging it off, getting himself locked in. Artem Chokeov is just hot focused right here. Going into his first outer zone, Lucas lights off the tires and gets to the first outer zone. Beautiful fill out. Here comes Artem Chokeov right on the proximity of the door up. Oh, a little bit of contact. Another contact on the inner clip as Lucas is going into the power alley. Unfazed by the contact, focus. He knows he needs to complete this lap. He cannot fall out of this track as he is going to this final outer zone. And great fill out.
Lucas with a great lead there, hitting all those zones. Nice, snappy initiation from both drivers, but you can see Adam hopping right up on the door. Both of them taking that nice wide line, and then across this inner clip. You can see in the chase, a lot more composed up until this moment. Gets a little bit too much in the aggression. This is a slowdown area for the lead, so he has the ability to come off the throttle there, and the chase just didn't accommodate for that. So other than that, beautiful display in the chase here from the BMW. But is it enough to outweigh that mistake that he made around the inner clip?
Lucas just feeling it out, trying to figure out who's going to be moving on. Beautiful S14.
Yeah, I think overall in the leads, they both had very comparable leads. They were both hitting their zones. But looking in the chase, the BMW a lot more dominant in the chase positions, except for the over amount of contact around that inner clip. So if he was able to dial that back a little bit, I think this, helps seal the deal for him. But now it's in the judge's hands.
There you go.
We're gonna have to replay once again. Yeah, you can see beautifully locked in, and then this is when we come into a decel area. This is an area where the drivers are allowed to slow down in the lead, and you're coming up on brakes. And the chase, they have to accommodate for that. They can't use the driver as a brake. And coming around here, beautiful transition timing from the chase there. Lead right where it needs to be, right on the line. But yeah, that mistake around that inner clip might be very costly for him.
Yeah, that's seemed like Lucas was using the decel zone right, and he surged in a little too hard on the chase. But
yeah, overall, I think he had, like I was saying, a beautiful chase up for that little mistake. But Lucas in the lead was a beautiful lead and was unfazed by the contact. He was able to, continue through the run, hit his marks, and didn't let him get in his head. So, I got to give him props for being able to complete the run, really hit all of his zones, knowing that, he was essentially being bullied from behind. But that's competitive drifting for you.
Yeah. Here we go. Judges had to look over the replay a little bit. You have slide it to the left for Artem Chokeov, slide it to the right for Lucas. And it looks like Artem Chokeov gets the win. We're going to get a explanation from the judges here shortly.
Yeah, another split decision, and that's how like they were saying, it came down to the contact. It was a split call. Some judges are saying that, they had excessive deceleration, and that's why he win. But David saw the opposite way, and Artem went too hard, and that's what it came down to.
Well, here he goes. That is that's one beauty of drifting, because it's a judgment call. We can see one thing, but some of these judges will see the other, and we're gonna see the drivers roll back and get situated.
Yeah, and that's where we're looking at the track map and really understanding what the judges want to see, regardless of how it feels on track. That's who you're driving for. This is an exhibition, and you need to do exactly what the judges want. So, they have drivers meetings before this, and we have briefings
Hmm.
about what the drivers, what the judges want to see, where the decel zones are, what is too much deceleration, and that can change whether you're moving on or not.
Here we go. It looks like it was a one more time battle with Alan Hines and Nico Stella. Here we go. Alan Hines is going to be in the chase. Nico Stella in the lead as we're going in here. As Nico Stella is coming into that first outer zone and then able to fill it all the way out. Alan Hines is doing the same thing as his last chase run, getting right to the door, surging in as hard as possible to keep that proximity alive as they're angling up in that inner clip to the outer zone and going into this power alley. Beautiful fill out. Alan Hines is not as close as he was before on that transition, but going into this final outer zone, he is still keeping that proximity that he had before.
Yes, amazing run from Nico there. A little bit shallow on the first half of this outer zone, just a little bit, but able to clean it up. Alan right there on the door. You can see him moving back a little, start to position himself for this transition. Transitions through his bumper. Alan with a little bit less angle, but able to keep that proximity. Going through the power alley here, Alan transitioning on the bumper once again. Luckily, these colliders aren't, affecting these drivers, but Alan just positioning his car perfectly behind Nico in the lead. But Nico, other than that small little shallowness on the outer zone one, beautiful lead from him. So when they swap around, like we were saying before, this is going to be a great battle, and I think Nico's going to bring the aggression.
All right, Nico, the kid Stella in the chase with the Escuco 400Z. As Alan Hines is coming out here. Just nice fill out on that first outer zone and big old weight transfer in that initiation. Going to outer zone 2. Oh no, looks like a tire drop from Alan Hines. Locks up that e-brake and gets some contact from Nico Stella as he is going through outer zone 3 and 4. And my goodness, Alan Hines locking in the angle to the second to last outer zone, to the final outer zone. Another tire drop as he is going to the last outer zone.
Yeah, Nico brought the aggression, but was it too much? I don't know. Alan beautifully filling that outside zone, but Nico right up there in the pocket. Both of them around this inner clip, but Alan in the lead drops a tire around that outer zone. Using the angle to slow down, we saw in the previous battle, we see contact. Was Nico too aggressive? This is a decel zone. Both of them transitioning, Nico right on the bumper, right back into the pocket. And then through this last transition, through the bumper of Alan Hines, right up onto the door with contact across the line. I don't know. It's that same decel situation. How are the judges going to view it? Did Alan have too much of a slowdown, or was it too much aggression from Nico?
Mm-hmm. And it looks like Alan Hines gets the win on this and moves on to the top 16.
Yep, I think Nico just got a little bit too aggressive in the chase there.
Yeah, he did. But here, we're in Italy here with this new layout for round 1 of Drift Masters. And these guys are going to be absolutely shredding in a couple weeks' time. We have our next battle lining up. You have Steven Jarbo versus Alexander Element, another AOM member. You have Alexander Element, who's a DCGP Season 11 champion. As Steven Jarbo coming in with that RX-7, lighting up those tires. It looks like a tire drop as well, but some contact from the chase as Steven Jarbo is going to the second outer zone, transitioning into this huge decel. Whoa, huge angle. And he's going to inner clip 2 as he is filling out the power alley. And here comes Alexander Element just holding that angle with that RX-7 as they're going to the final outer zone. Super aggressive, both of these drivers.
Yeah, I think lead, great initiation, but a little too deep. And then coming up in the chase here, too much aggression there. A little contact, but it didn't really phase the lead. Going on to the rest of the run, huge angle to slow down the car, almost backwards, but that makes him miss that inner clip. He went a little bit too deep. through the power alley here. Chase is starting to fall behind a little bit, but comes back right up into the pocket. So through this last transition, transitioning right on the bumper and able to clean it up, maintain that proximity behind the lead, and kind of, follow his line, follow his angle. I think both have mistakes, but both have areas they can really gain some ground.
And we have Steven Jarbo switching sides and Alexander Element in the lead as we got these guys are out here shredding it, waiting for the judges to put the lights. You actually, if you guys are watching this and you've never seen sim driving, the light is actually controlled by someone. And then you have drone pilots here that have mods for Assetto Corsa so they can practice their drone flying skills. It's all an absolute pleasure with all these guys. It looks like Steven Jarbo jumped a little too early. That's gonna possibly cost him because he has to fall back. He's cut the line a little bit in that first outer zone to hold up the proximity as Alexander Element is going to outer zone 2. Nice fill out, going to his decel zone. Steven Jarbo surges right into the pocket of Alexander Element as they're going through this power alley, transitioning to the second to last outer zone. A little bit of a tire drop, but he's using all of the track. Alexander Element with that BMW being an absolute shredder here, lighting off all the tires in each of the zones.
Alexander with a beautiful lead, hitting all the zones that he needed to. But in the chase there, he jumped the line on the light, and that really set him up poorly for outer zone 1. But he was able to kind of fall back in line. Coming through here, using the angle to slow down the car. Beautifully around the inner clip, both of them. And you can see in the chase, he's able to keep that proximity, but I think he's kind of struggling to keep where he wants to be. The car's surging a little bit, coming up a little bit inside, and starts to fall back across the finish line.
All right,
I think
waiting
overall
for the decisions. I was just about to ask you, what do you think overall?
I think they had their mistakes, and in the lead for the RX-7, he was a little bit deep, and then there was contact. So they both had their mistakes in the outer zone 1. The first half of this course is going to be really determining for them on which way this goes, and it's weighing the mistakes versus weighing what they did right in this first half. So it's going to be hard to say, how do you weigh the mistake one versus the other, versus the contact versus the entering inside, mistiming the light. So that mistiming of the light in the chase for him, I think really was detrimental to his run.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, and when you're jumping that light and you're trying to time it with, sometimes it's just your timing is a little bit off, that it makes it so if he timed it a little bit later, it could have been at fault for him. It could have set him up for failure too, and him jumping early. What, as a spotter, do you tell your drivers hey, you need to jump early or you need to jump late?
The general idea of, I'll time every car and how fast they are in certain zones, and some drivers are absolute drag racers down the line, and you have to be, ready for them to jump, and I think he just overestimated that and jumped a little too soon.
Okay. And it looks like we're gonna get a one more time here for these drivers. So they're gonna drive back to pits, reset their tires, and get back to the line. Okay, we got a one more time battle here going on. This is a third one more time battle in the first round. I think this is the most one more time battle so far I've been commentating Virtual Drift Masters.
Yeah, I think they both had big mistakes that they can easily clean up. They've all been practicing. They know what they need to do. Don't jump the line. Don't go too deep. Easily on the aggression for the contact. Just have a clean battle. You need to be composed, and you need to make it to the end of the round. That's how you're going to win this thing.
All right, Steven Jarbo gets a second life in this competition, as well as Alexander Element. Let's see how they perform here. Let's see how aggressive he could be and conservative at the same time, lighting off those tires, filling out the first outer zone. But here's Alexander Element keeping the proximity right there, rubbing that tire on that door, going to his decel zone. Beautiful fill out, lighting off the tires just right from Steven Jarbo, and Alexander Element is reading them like a book, knowing where he needs to go to put that car as close as possible, transitioning to the final outer zone. And my goodness, that was a totally different lead lap from Steven Jarbo.
Yeah, both these drivers, they got their jitters out in the first run. Beautiful initiation right into the outside zone there, but the chase up onto the door. Super close proximity. Transition timing, great here. You can see the angle's lacking a little bit, but both of them beautifully around the inner clip there. Through this power alley, transition timing perfect, into the outside zones. Both of them filling it well. Chase positioned his car perfectly right behind the lead. Good transition timing, a little bit of catch up and a little bit of shallowness to maintain that proximity across the line, but both huge improvement over the first run. Great lead, and I think a beautiful display in the chase.
Now we have Steven Jarbo. He knows he probably has a spotter in his ear saying, hey, you need to door him. Here we go. Alexander Element coming in with a Scandinavian flick to that first outer zone, lighting off the tires where he needs to on that first outer zone. Here's Steven Jarbo keeping that proximity a little bit conservative, but transitioning into his decel zone, diving into the pocket, and then lighting off the tires, both of them going into inner clip 2. Power alley going in to the second to last outer zone. Oh, flirting with that outer line, going to the final outer zone. Huge transition from both of these drivers. Oh my goodness, this is gonna
Alexander,
be hard
nice
for the judges.
wide line and lead. Didn't jump the chase this time, so that was good, but he still positioned his car inside. He's definitely on a shallower line than the lead out there. Both of them filling that outside zone, and I like this positioning between lead and chase. Both of them mimic each other angle. However, I would like to see a little bit better proximity. I would like to see the tire on the door. Through these transitions here, you can see in the chase he's choking up still, so these wider zones he seems to be cutting line a little bit to maintain that proximity. So even though it is a slightly smaller car, you can see he's missing that rear mimicking of bumpers into the outer zone. I think he was definitely struggling with some speed there.
RX-7 is brapping out there. So in chat, people putting brap.
It's the
Man.
loudest car I've heard so far today, so idling wise that is. But they are that loud in real life. They are screamers. Oh yeah, you can hear that thing.
It's so cool. It's such a unique sound. You could walk down the street, you could tell what's a rotary and what's not. But here we go. Steven Jarbo to the left, Alexander Element to the right, and Element gets the win. Steven Jarbo, the road ends here, but Alexander Element goes to the top 16.
Yeah, I think that composure in the both lead and the chase it really helped him move on to this battle. Like, you had a great smooth lead, and then in the chase you weren't making those compromises. You weren't, getting shallow in these certain areas. So it'll be good going into the next set of battles.
We have 2 more battles for the top 32. Then we'll be taking a 5-minute break afterwards. But you're going to have 2 Drift Masters drivers in the last 2 battles of the top 32. Paolo Corpalinsky versus Brandon Patrick. Brandon Patrick in the Z4. Paolo Corpalinsky in that S14. Here we go. You got the 2 driver cameras right there as Paolo Corpalinsky goes in the first outer zone. Oh my goodness, the proximity from Brandon Patrick as he angles up to slow himself down so he could give Paolo Corpalinsky some room, and then diving into the pocket, almost making contact. Brandon Patrick out there with the Z4 getting into this power alley as Paolo Corpalinsky going to have second to last outer zone, a possible tire drop, going to the final outer zone, being as smooth as possible, and Brandon Patrick being absolutely methodical right there.
Yeah, Powell, nice in the lead, immediately gets into the outer zone, hops back on throttle. You can see a little bit of left foot braking, and that allows Brandon and Chase come up and really get up into the door of him. Beautiful transition timing there, a little bit further behind, but a little bit of dooring action around this inner clip. You can tell he needs to, let him know that he's there, and the aggression starts to come out. Transition timing, beautiful there, a little bit more contact, so he's wanting to get up inside of the door of Powell, but overall, great lead and an aggressive chase. So wasn't too aggressive, but he definitely made some contact there.
I was joking with Brandon Patrick on Instagram DMs the other day because in VDC, I believe he competed in a Dodge Challenger back in the day, and I got excited when I saw an old video of it. I'm like, dude, that's sick. But here we go. You have him now competing with a Z4. Man, how locked in he is right now. Do you see? And Powell's just smiling, chilling, having a good time, getting ready. He's using this as practice compared to a sim driver that competes in a lot of professional competitions here. Brandon Patrick is locked in, trying to knock down this Drift Masters driver as he is going to that first out of zone, locked to angle with that Z4 as Paul Corpalinsky is massaging the angle to keep the proximity alive, going into his decel zone, slow angle, but then gets back on throttle to get that proximity as that Z4 is going to his power alley. Man, he is boogieing all the way through this power alley as he's going to the second outer zone to the last. Oh my goodness, the angle from Brandon Patrick is absolutely diabolical.
Yes, Brandon really using the angle to his advantage, just chucking in almost 90 degrees, filling the outside zone, minimal left foot braking, but Powell come right up on the door, but he's using a little bit less angle in the chase to make that happen. Beautifully around this inner clip, you can see Powell getting up into the door, giving some of that aggression. Beautiful transitions on the bumper there, but starting to fall back a little bit, but he's not cutting line. He's maintaining that line behind Brandon in the lead. And then up in the last outside zone, you can see Powell get back up, onto the door there and close some of that proximity.
That was crazy. Brandon Patrick gets the win and knocks out the Drift Masters driver. Man, Powell has been a big supporter of the sim, and he's always killing it out here. Man, that was a great battle.
Yes, that was a great display. I think Brandon, he just brought the angle and he brought the speed. Powell, he was right there. He was able to, follow the line, maintain, exactly where he needed to be on the door, but just lacked the angle. And Brandon's aggression in the chase, I guess, it wasn't too much, so it really helped seal the deal for him.
And we have Adam Zawiski versus Alexander Jagger. Adam Zawiski, he's a Drift Masters driver and a Drift Masters champion. You have Alexander Jagger trying to knock this guy out. Adam coming in here with a nice Scandinavia flick to that first outer zone as Alexander Jagger is getting right close to the proximity as possible as they're going into this first decel zone right here. Huge angle from, oh my God. Adam gets huge angle, but possibly misses that inner clip as he's going through this power alley. Beautiful fill out as well, locking in that car that he needs to as he is going to the final outer zone. Looks like a possible tire drop from the chase driver. Matt, what do you think?
Yeah, Adam, great outside zone one, maybe a foot too shallow, but other than that, Chase was able to hop right up inside, but a little bit on the shallower line side. Through this transition here, bumper to bumper transition, but Adam in the lead, he misses that outer zone, or that inner clip, I'm sorry. And then through the power alley here, you can see transition on the bumper, and Chase hops right back in the pocket. Last transition, a little bit behind, and I think he's starting to follow behind. He's struggling with a speed issue there, and you can see him starting to cut line. He missed the first inner clip a little bit by punching it just to keep up in there.
You have Adam here with the new livery. Last year I called him the Last Samurai, but man, he is sleek, black, and gold right here. Let's see how he performs with that GT86. Getting almost side-by-side initiation. Oh my goodness, that was scary to watch in the chase as he is getting door-to-door with Alexander Jagger as they're going to his decel zone. Adam is keeping the proximity all the way through, mirroring the angle in that inner clip too, transitioning into this power alley, going to the second to last outer zone. Beautiful fill out from Alexander Jagger, going to the second to last outer zone, now going to the final outer zone. My goodness, beautiful lead lap.
Yeah, Alexander had the angle, he had the speed, but Adam was able to maintain that, proximity and that angle behind him. Super aggressive on initiation, maybe a little bit late from Adam, but he was able to make it work right up onto the door. Beautiful transition timing through the bumper. A little bit of lacking of angle from Adam, but he was able to stay up in the pocket, stay where he needs to be. These transition timing, just stay in there. A little bit of cutting of line from Adam, but other than that, he was able to maintain that proximity, maintain that aggression, and really, push him across the finish line.
This is the last. We're just at the top 32. This is the last battle of the top 32, and so far the battles have been crazy compared to what I've seen previous years. You get the hit or miss. Every driver today has brought their A game for the start of the season. Okay, we're gonna see if the judges come with a decision. I'm pretty sure they probably have a decision here. They know who they want, but we'll see how Adam or Alexander. There it is. BMW is on the right. That is Alexander Jagger. Adam is to the left. GT86. Slider left for Alexander. Slider left for Adam. And Alexander Jagger gets the win and knocks out our Drift Masters driver. Whoa. Today has been a day. And it just started.
Yep, these battles. Yeah, I think, looking at these leads, the leads are becoming, really important to some of these drivers because, if you can't put down a good lead for a chase driver to really make himself shown, then you really have a lot of work to do in the chase.
Yeah, and this is our top 16 battles right here. This is our bracket right here. We're going to be taking a 5-minute break. We'll be back after that, and we're going to be continuing on this top 16 battle. Matt, man, oh man.
It's going to be great. I mean, these battles have already been, tit for tat. Small mistakes are causing, big swings in the judge's decision. So looking forward, they really just have to clean up. There's some areas that we see a lot of drivers, in the decel zones, missing clips. So, they need to know where they need to position the car and reliably position the car in those positions. But going on to the rest of the battles, I think it'll be very interesting to watch.
All right. We'll catch you guys back in 5 minutes for the top 16. Here we go. We are back and ready for the action. Matt, what do you think about the competition so far today?
I think it's stacking it up to be like it's going to be interesting. I hope these drivers went back and watched some of their runs, so that way they can see this is where I made mistakes. This is where I can really make dominance. And these drivers have been practicing for days, weeks, looking at this track, so they know exactly where they can make changes. Looking at it, you have to know when to be aggressive and when is too much. And we've seen drivers lose out on battles because of the over-aggression. So you have to maintain composure, like I've said before, and just get to the end of the battles.
Yeah, and you have the top 16 bracket here. We're getting ready for the competition. And man, oh man, Ginge, you have been an absolute pleasure here. My son's bringing back my phone. It's a great thing. It's different. You could be in the pits over there in Formula Drift, and now you're at home doing what you love. Well, what's the feeling compared to both worlds, man?
I love seeing, I love watching drifting all the time. This is great on the sim because I can see every angle. I can see everything. Sometimes in the real life drifting, you can't see all the zones you can't see. So being able to view every drift and every aspect of this course and seeing what these drivers are doing, it really helps bring insight to, how good these drivers actually are. I think if you stuck, half of these sim drivers up against real life, Drift Masters drivers, once they get used to a car, they would be very competitive. These drivers are animals. I've driven with some of them, and they completely blow me out of the water. So, all hats off to them.
Yeah, for sure. Oh man, and some of these, you guys, the cool thing about this year, you actually get driver cam while they're competing, which is something that we talked about last year. We thought it was a good idea, and we started implementing it this year. Would you ever want to see that in a real life competition? I think I would. I would enjoy that.
Oh yeah, it's cool seeing the drivers' facial reactions, and a lot of them are just Iceman cool. They are just clocked in and just ready to drive a lap after lap. And with how much practice these guys have put in, and they are all robots behind the wheel, it is just getting to the next zone, to the next zone, to the next zone, and they're just locked in. They're focused.
Yeah, and definitely check our social medias out. Virtual Drift Masters on Instagram, Facebook, and also follow us on YouTube as well as on Twitch. We have a Drift Masters _ on Twitch. And I saw a chat right there. We need a judge cam. Make sure they're watching the same thing. The community here, I think this is something that is unique with other motorsports. The community here are so passionate about judging and decisions. Matt, how do you feel especially being in the spotter position, when a call doesn't go your way?
And I've had calls not go my way, and I've had long, discussions with judges on why. But at the end of the day, you are driving for the judges. These judges have a set of rules. We went through meetings, and they have criteria that they want to see from the drivers. And if you don't meet that criteria, you're not moving on. This isn't a fan favorite. This is a exhibition, following all the rules, doing everything that you need to do, what the judges said that needs to happen during the course of your run, and that is how you're getting through this. And obviously there's drivers that are super aggressive, super great, hitting all the zones, but you have to make sure that you're following everything that the judges want to see.
Last year, I know Adam LZ was competing in Drift Masters. This year, he decided to pull back. The one funny meme, I guess, around the drift community is, when's LZ going? I'm surprised I didn't see that this year in the virtual side, but we have our next battle. We have Kishawinski versus Tarasov. And here we go. Robert is going to be in the lead with that 890 Supra, as Tarasov is in the chase with the BMW as they are initiating into that first outer zone, going into that inner clip. Beautiful fill out from both of these drivers as they're going into this decel zone where a lot of people, this has been their kryptonite. A little bit of a tire bump from the chase driver going into this power alley, trying to find that car as the smoke is covering his windshield. A little bit of a left foot brake from the lead driver. You saw the smoke flare up from his front tires and possible tire drop at the end with that 890 Supra.
Yeah, A90 directly into that outside zone, beautifully filling it, but the chase right there up on the door. You can see him a little bit on a shallower line to maintain that proximity, but it pays off for him. Bumper to bumper transition, almost matching angle there, and a little bit of contact coming around that inner clip. That aggression is going to start coming out later in these battles. 890 here fills his zone, comes out of it a little bit early, but overall, bumper to bumper transition, both of them door to door across the line. You have some small compromises in the lead there, and some small mistakes in the chase, but overall, I think running this battle back will be great.
Oh, you see Robert, he's scooting in his chair, getting locked in. He even has his seatbelt on because he knows it's going to be a wild ride. Here we go. Stanislav Tarasov in the lead. Robert in the chase. 890 Supra getting extra excited, trying to jump the line perfectly as Tarasov is bolting to that first outer zone, lighting off his tires all the way to the first outer zone as Robert is keeping the proximity, rubbing that tire on the door as Tarasov, oh my goodness, huge checkup onto that inner clip, but Tarasov is able to keep that momentum going as Robert is holding the proximity and chasing that line as best as possible, going to the last outer zone. Beautiful fill out, beautiful transition from Tarasov going to the last outer zone.
Yeah, beautiful chase from Robert there. Was able to position his car very well, but Tarasov in the lead, great positioning. All the way out on that outer zone, hit that inner clip perfectly. Outer zone 3, amazing. Beautifully using the car to slow down, a little bit of left foot braking, but both of them made their way around that inner clip. No real contact, maybe just a little rubbing, but both of them hitting that outer zone. Good snappy transition, very deep in that outer zone. And then through this last outer zone here, great proximity from the chase driver, but overall the lead, he just hit everywhere where he needed to be.
Oh, the judges have made a decision. Right for Tarasov, left for Robert. Rob gets the win with the BMW and moves on. Wow. I guess those seatbelts worked for him.
Yeah, you could just see that there was contact on the run, and other than that, like it was great lead. Like he just displayed dominance across every zone in the course, and he wasn't leaving zones early. He wasn't making things happen like that.
Man, I didn't even know they had seatbelts for Sims.
Yeah, some drivers use them. They even have the ability to tighten and loosen with G-forces, so it can kind of simulate that in the car feeling or when you're braking. So any small things to help the drivers just get mentally into the zone and really feel like they're locked into the car. And there's small things, wind sim, stuff like that too, but all these small things, they add up and they can really improve your driving experience.
Wow. Now you got a Ford-on-Ford battle. Ford Sierra versus RTR Ford Mustang. Nick Hang versus Reese Tatterson. Reese Tatterson is in that RTR green Mustang, as Nick Hang is in that Ford Sierra. Let's see how they both compete. Reese Tatterson's chase on his last battle was very methodically accurate. Oh my goodness, that initiation on that first outer zone with that Sierra was absolutely crazy as Reese Tatterson is burying his front tire into the door of Nick Hang and then surging into inner clip 2. Oh my word, Reese Tatterson is out here for blood with that Ford Mustang as that Ford Sierra is going to the second last outer zone, transitioning to the final outer zone. Reese Tatterson is out here and he ain't playing no games.
Yeah, Nick Hang in the lead just really threw it into that first outside zone. Super aggressive on the flick. Nice and deep. Reese a little bit shallow on the line, but he was able to clean it up, get back on the door. You can see him almost pushing him a little bit, but Robin's racing like we said. Moving into the inner clip area, you can see Reese really positioning his car well in that controlled aggression. The tire right up on the door without disrupting the lead vehicle. Alan, he's right behind there, and you could see him kind of choking up a little bit to get in that zone there, but overall I think great lead and great chase.
All right, let's see if Reese Tatterson has a bumper budget here because I know Nick Hang is going to be hanging on to that rear bumper as we are going to our second half of this battle. They're getting locked in, as well as the drone pilot is getting locked in, trying to get everybody dizzy, spinning around that Ford Sierra. Oh my goodness. All right, I think the lights are getting ready. Here we go. Reese Tatterson in the lead. Nick Hang in the chase. Reese Tatterson snapping to angle right in the first outer zone as Nick Hang is keeping the proximity as close as possible, surging into the pocket of Reese Tatterson as Reese Tatterson is going to that inner clip, diving into it. Beautiful fluid momentum as he's going to that inner clip with that RTR Mustang, going to the second to last outer zone. Oh, huge angle as he is going to this final outer zone, locked right in. Locked and loaded. Reese Tatterson is out here for blood.
Yeah, Reese really letting the engine sing on there. You can see him start to shallow up angle here, and his cautious coming in to this inner clip. Not throwing as much angle as I would like to see from him, but overall, the rest of the run dialed in, hitting every zone. But the chase, he's able to hop right back up in the pocket, you know, gaining some of that proximity due to the huge angle from Reese in the lead there. Overall, filling that outside zone, both of them, and you can see nice matching angle across the line.
Oh, we're gonna see a Ford Mustang and Drift Masters with James Dean there. It's gonna be great to see an RTR over there in Europe, and we're seeing it in the sim. So.
Yeah, from driving these cars in the sim, seeing them in real life, they love to sit at angle and love to be on throttle.
And it looks like the RTR gets the win. Reese Tatterson moves on to the Grade 8.
Yeah, his lead run was, you know, almost everything that we want to see in these lead runs. You know, he had huge angle in a lot of his zones, great throttle commitment, and that opened the door to the chase. And there were some mistakes in the chase, some lack of proximity, but overall, I think, you know, Reese did an excellent display in the lead and in the chase, and that's a tremendous win.
So, Matt, I'm getting a question from the folks at home. Well, we're at home, but you know what I mean. Will LZ be a wild card in the virtual Drift Masters? You know he's not competing in the real one, so no, he's doing that Sim HQ.
I can't speak for him, but I know he's definitely upgraded his sim setup over the years, and he has been, you know, hopping in the sim a little bit more, getting used to some of these tracks, even doing some road racing stuff that he's done before. So you need some more convincing, but I think we could probably see him on the virtual level at some point.
All right, here we go. Cameron Mustard in the lead. Vitaly Isaev in the chase with the Z4. Cameron Mustard out here. He showed he was spicy earlier, but Vitaly Isaev is saying, hey, I love spicy mustard, as he is going right into that inner clip one. Cameron diving in to the Z-cell zone. Huge angle going to that inner clip. Beautiful fill out as Vitaly Isaev is matching angle everywhere he is going. Oh, mirrored that transition absolutely beautiful. That's what we love to see here at Virtual Drift Masters, because they're all getting doors.
Yeah, Mustard, excellent display in the lead, rolling burnout all the way to the line. Big flick, filling the zone. But you can see in the chase, a lot of left foot braking, he's holding it back. You know in his lead, he's going to absolutely send it. Beautiful matching of angle around this inner clip. You can see the chase with the controlled aggression, not being too close, not upsetting the lead car, but being right where he needs to be. Filling all the zone, matching the lead's angle, transitioning with enough space so you don't, you know, upset the lead driver. Overall, I think it was a very calm and collected run from the both lead and chase.
Yes. Super duper battle here. Vitaly Isaev is now in the lead. Cameron Mustard in the chase. Let's see if Cameron will be as aggressive as Vitaly as they're going into that first outer zone. Cameron is surging and holding that proximity, going into inner clip. Now he surges into it, holding that back quarter panel of Vitaly Isaev as they're diving in. Oh, huge contact from Cameron Mustard as they're going into inner clip 2. But there goes the power alley. Let's see if he could clean it up here in the chase, matching the angle, matching the speed of Vitaly Isaev as they're going to this final outer zone. Beautiful fill up, a little bit of a tire drop from Isaev.
Yeah, Vitaly in the lead. Nice big flick, but Mustard right in the chase, hops right in the pocket. You can see him start to lose a little bit of that proximity there, but into this transition, this is when things get hairy. A little bit too aggressive, bumps lead there and pushes them offline. So we're going to come into that in that decel zone. Was there too much decel or not? But other than that, the transition timing was great. Hops right back up into the pocket. Final transition on bumper to bumper, right up onto the door and across the line.
All right. Let's see what the judges have come up with the decision here.
Yeah, and that's what we go back to is you got to throttle the amount of aggression in the chase, because being too aggressive is not necessarily a good thing. You start pushing cars around and it can totally ruin your entire run, just being that slight bit too much.
Left for Mustard, right for Isaev, and Isaev gets the win. And judges said that it was the chase's mistake for the contact. So Isaev moving on to the grade 8.
Yep, you got to keep in your mental game. You got to, not overdo it, not overdrive your car. You got to make it to the finish line. And when you start pushing cars around and bumping people offline, that's when you start to get into, the judges aren't going to like you for that. And you're going to have a lot of room to claw back up to try and get the win after something like that.
Now we have our next battle lining up. Krzysztof Rabina versus Martinez. Austria. Martinez is going to be in the chase in that BMW. And Krzysztof Rabina is going to be in that S chassis as we go on our first lap of this battle. Krzysztof Rabina going into that first outer zone and locks in the angle. Had to adjust a little bit of a correction on that first outer zone as Martinez is just mirroring what he needs to do to stay close proximity, as Martinez is using that front tire to rub up against him just to check up Krzysztof Rabina. As Krzysztof Rabina gets to the second to last outer zone and filling out that angle, now going to that final outer zone. A little bit of a tire drop on the last 2 outer zones from what I saw. What are you looking, Matt?
Yeah, you can see in the chase here a little bit of correction. He was a little too inside, but he was able to work the car back up right where it needs to be on the door there. Starting to fall back a little bit delayed transition, but don't want to be over aggressive. Just get through the run. Throughout the rest of the run, a little bit of door rub there, starting to get that aggression build up. Good transition timing, still a little bit shallower on that line to maintain some of that proximity. Overall, door to door across the finish line to really bring it home.
Well, that's the first lap. Here's the second lap. They switch sides. Martinez is now in the lead, and Krzysztof Rabina is in the chase. Here we go. Martinez, Austria, coming in with a Scandinavian flick to that first outer zone and lights off those tires as Krzysztof Rabina is right there. Has to fall back a little bit. Had a little bit too much angle from what I saw. Had to correct it as he is going into his decel zone. Locks in the angle as they're going to that inner clip 2. Going to the power alley. Martinez massages to the angle out, so he has momentum to go to the second to last outer zone. Possible tire drop on the beginning of that second to last outer zone to the final outer zone. Able to lock in angle. But here's Krzysztof Rabina getting doors all the way through each part of this track.
Yeah, super aggressive side-by-side initiation. The risk paid off because he locked right in where he needed to be, right up onto that front fender area, and was able to kind of maintain that proximity through the rest of this. Beautiful transition on the bumper and throwing more angle in the chase than the lead there. Not too aggressive, but still able to maintain that proximity. Through the power alley, good transition timing right through the bumper, both of them filling outer zones. Chase car right where he needs to be, but lead hitting every mark, getting right to the outside of the outside zone there and across the finish line.
Did that chase driver hit him with his back quarter panel on that final outer zone? It kind of looked like he angled up a little bit and got saved with that contact. I don't know. That's probably something the judges will look at, though.
Yeah, potentially. You can throw these cars in pretty hard, and I know they've updated the tire physics on these cars over the years, and they keep getting grippier and grippier and faster. So being able to throw a lot of angle and use that, try not to use the lead car as your brakes, and using more of that angle to slow your car down. You see that a lot going through the hairpin. So it looks like judges here are looking at a replay here. So you can see some. I don't think there is any contact there. And then where we're going with this diesel there, was there any contact? But I like the excess angle from the chase, overdoing what the lead driver's doing. Both of them filling that outer zone beautifully. And now I think we're going to look here, see if there's any contact. Some small contact from the chase driver, like you were saying. I think a little bit of over angle. Not over angle, but more angle from the chase driver than the lead, just kind of bumping him across the finish line.
Yeah, it's either he bumped him or he corrected really abruptly. It's so hard to tell. But here we go. We got the judge's decision. Left for Rabina, right for Austria. And Krzysztof Rabina gets the win and moves on to the Grade 8. Oh, these guys are. I love watching drivers. They're like even with the sim and real life, they're superheroes. Like they do a lot of work to get to where they're at now. It's awesome to see.
Yeah, and you can start to see through the rest of these battles, you're going to see the mistakes start to get smaller and the aggression start to move up. And a lot of these drivers, once you get into these top levels, they've driven with each other a lot. And, you're going to see them read each other like a book. And these transition timings are going to become insane. The proximity is going to be, unimaginable. These drivers are going to know what each other are doing left and right.
And here we go. We got a Sullivan, a VDC champ, back-to-back with that BMW. And you have Juan Turnquist in that Dodge Viper. Here we go, our first lap of this battle. Let's see if this Dodge Viper can knock out that VDC champion as Sullivan fills out that first outer zone beautifully. Going into the second outer zone, transition, buttery smooth, huge angle from the Dodge Viper. No, that looks like a straighten. Going into the inner clip, huge mistake as Sullivan is going into each zone. A tire drop on the second to last outer zone, but then going into this final outer zone, a little bit of flirting with that outer line. Oh no.
Yeah, Zach positioning his car perfectly in this outside zone 1. The tire on the white line on the outside the entire course of the zone. Beautifully hits this inner clip here, and you can see Juan, he's maintaining that aggression and throws more angle, but can't make it stick. He ends up unwinding the car and has to reposition it and reinitiate behind him, and he loses all that proximity through the power alley, which is going to be huge in terms of his chase run. Across the finish line here, Zach, I don't know if he's dropping a tire or right on the line there, but in the chase, he's definitely going to have a lot of work cut out for him to make this lead stick.
Yeah, here we go. Juan in the lead, Dodge Viper, Zach in the chase, the BMW. I know within the last year or so, he purchased his own drift car, project car, so he could get into the real world drifting. As Swan is going in, lighting off the tires with that Dodge Viper, going into that inner clip. Sullivan is shallowing up angle so he could keep the proximity as dialed in as possible. Surges forward into the pocket and then reels himself back in, a little bit of left foot brake so he can stay back in that pocket as they're going into this power alley. That Dodge Viper is shredding in the lead, giving Zach every opportunity. A little bit of a flirting tire drop in the beginning of the last outer zone.
Yeah, Juan with a great lead, but Zach, you can tell he was more reserved in this chase run. He wasn't as aggressive because he didn't need to be. He knew there was a huge mistake in the lead from this run. So he was able to just be calm and collected, but overall, beautiful lead from Juan here, being able to fill all the zones, using angle to slow down the car. Zach staying that comfortable gap behind Juan in the lead there, just to complete the run, knowing that Juan had that huge mistake in his first lap. So overall, great lead run by Juan, and Zach was just able to complete the run, get there behind him, but he knew he had the advantage going into the second battle.
Oh, slided left for Zach, slided right for Juan. And Zach O'Sullivan gets the win and moves on. Oh, so sad to see the Viper go, but man, you shredded today. Do not hang your head low. You did fantastic.
Yeah, I think if he could have made that excess angle going into that hairpin really stick, it could have been, the deciding factor in this run, because I don't think we saw what we could have seen from Zach and Chase, because he didn't really have to put down as much of a heater, knowing he had that advantage going into the second half of the battle.
For sure. All right. You have Peter Pelinkovich in the lead, and Alan Hines, a Driftmasters driver, in the chase. He's the lone Driftmasters driver here. As Alan Hines is going to try to match up with that Ford Mustang. As that Ford Mustang is out there locking into angle, Alan Hines is just massaging that car to try to get right to the door every which way possible. Beautiful angle, tapping the door a little bit and only into this power alley. That Ford Mustang is trying to reel himself away. Oh, huge angle from Alan as they're going into this power alley and out of it. Oh my goodness, that was a total mess. A little bit of disappointment in the face of Alan.
Yeah, beautiful start to the run, but it all came down to that second half. You can see Alan right up on the door and beautifully able to position himself perfectly here in this angle. This is what I love here. He's able to match the angle, match the speed, match the line through that hairpin there. But coming here, this is where we start to see everything unwind. Was there a decel? Was there too much aggression from Alan? That's going to come down to the judge's decision on that, but the rest of the run is pretty much a throwaway at that point. It's hard to say.
Yeah, I'm seeing a little bit of confusion in the chat. The Dodge Viper did not win that previous battle. It was Zach O'Sullivan. He was in the BMW. Well, here we go. We got Alan Hines. These guys, so you were a spotter in real life. These virtual drivers also does have a, they do have a spotter. And so I'm pretty sure he's talking to his spotter. He's giving him some tips, tricks, and letting him know what he needs to do. But man, that huge mistake on the second to last outer zone, going to the final outer zone from Alan, he needs to just drop a heater here.
Yeah, I think he knows this car like the back of his hand, so it should be a great run.
Here we go. Alan Hines coming in here with a nice initiation, lining off the tires right off the rip, getting to that first outer zone, diving into inner clip one. Beautiful. The Ford Mustang is trying to go. Oh my God. Alan Hines, I thought he was going to overcook going into that inner clip two. He was able to reel it in. You see the lock in feature of his face, understanding what he needs to do, using his eyes to look at every point that he needs to get that car. My goodness, visual cues are paramount as a driver. Man, what are you looking at right here, Matt?
Yeah, so I'm really looking. Alan had a beautiful lead here. I think in that second last outer zone, he missed a little too deep there, but overall, great calm. After that mistake in the last run, he was able to really dial in his lead run here and really hit every zone, get out where he needs to be. Chase drivers struggling to keep up a little bit. You can see him falling back almost a car length through that second outer zone, or that second last outer zone, and still small gap coming across the finish line. So I think it's really going to come down to how that mistake is viewed coming in that second last outer zone on run one.
And it's unanimous. Peter Pelinkovich gets the win and moves on. Alan Hines gets knocked out. Man, it's unfortunate, but it's great to see him out here as a sim driver, and I'm very looking forward to his real life ventures.
Oh yeah, I agree. Yeah, but I think it really came down to that outside zone, and Alan, the over aggression. That area of the track is deemed by the judges as kind of like a momentum changing zone. It's kind of like I don't want to say gray area, but it's not a hard braking zone, but you know the lead car is going to be changing some of their speed in some aspects, so you have to be aware of that. And when you're super aggressive in the chase and you make that contact, it's going to kind of ruin your run. We saw that there.
All right, we got our next battles coming up here. Two BMWs. Beautiful cars. Alexander Element versus Artem Chokeov. Artem Chokeov. Did he just put a suit jacket on? Here we go. Artem Chokeov coming out here with style in the chase. As Alex, actually he's in the lead. And Alexander Element is in the chase, driving that BMW, trying to get right to the door of Artem Chokeov. Huge angle from Chokeov going into this inner clip 2 as they're going straight into this power alley. A nice transition from Element. They're able to transition and time it well as they're going to the second to last outer zone, to the final outer zone, locking angle, getting that power on. My goodness. Chokeov was very dapper on the lead.
Oh, yes, I agree. Nice snap to initiation. Early, gets back on throttle, but the chase right up in the pocket, right up. You can see a little bit of gap there, but that's okay. Huge angle from the lead driver, but that causes him to miss that inner clip. So he'll have to, that'll be an area where the chase driver will have an area to really improve on. Both of them, you can see the chase choking up a little bit, transition timing a little bit far back. Yeah, you can see a little bit of gap there, not as much aggression as you would like to see in the chase. In the lead, you have some mistakes. You had areas where he had big angle, but areas where he missed the inner clip. So as a chase driver, you're going into your lead run thinking, I need to throw down.
I'm not laughing at you, Matt. The chat was just said Artem Chokeov is mid-Zoom call. Here we go. Artem Chokeov is coming out here in the lead as he is going for the first initiation. Oh my goodness, locked right in and going into this inner clip 1. Beautiful fill out right there as they're going into this decel zone. Huge angle. Oh, what a nice float going into that inner clip 2. Able to mirror the angle. Element is being absolutely maniacal as he is driving that BMW going to this final outer zone. Both drivers are out here just slug fighting.
Alexander throwing down a great lead, but that obviously opens the door to the chase, and the chase was the aggression that we like to see. Both of them filling outer zone 1 exactly as we want to. Tire right on the door, positioning himself well for this transition bumper to bumper, and look at that huge angle from both drivers. You can see a little gap form here, but he's able to wind it right back in and make it happen. Hop right back up on the door. A little bit shallow in there though. Transition onto the bumper, and then both of them finishing slight gap, but across the finish line. I think that chase was a little bit more aggressive in that half of the run. You can see he really likes using that angle around the inner clip area.
You hit everything on the head, and it's great. And the one thing I do love about doing the commentary aspect, you like I said, you've been in the real world. You've been doing the spotters. You probably chirp at each other as spotters, but we're gonna have the judge's decision here, and I'll finish my thought. Artem Chokeov gets the win. I guess the suit jacket helped him as he is moving on. So you guys as spotters probably chirp at each other, like rib each other a little bit. When you, as a commentator, when I'm looking at the chats, I enjoy the little fun comments that they do with the drivers. Most of them, they know each other, so it's pretty hilarious. One guy said work desk sim magic, which I had to hold myself from laughing while you were talking.
Oh yeah, all of us spotters, we know each other. We're good friends. You know, we're all excited for each other's battling, and you know, seeing everyone do well is what we really like seeing.
Here we go. We got Brandon Patrick versus Alexander Jagger. As Alexander Jagger is coming in here. Whoa, huge angle from Brandon Patrick in the chase as he is getting right there, close proximity. Looked like he almost over-rotated in the chase right off of initiation, but here's Alexander Jagger getting every zone that he can and filling it as best as possible, as Brandon Patrick is just roaring at the door on his opposite side as he is looking at where he needs to go, put that car everywhere he needs to be, which he has been doing throughout this whole competition. I saw Brandon Patrick just get a sigh of relief afterwards.
Oh yeah, I bet he's happy with that lead run. It was beautifully executed, snap to angle, but Chase right up in the pocket. You can see them both side by side, transitioning on bumper. Huge angle from both the lead and Chase, but Chase misses the inner clip just that slight bit. Not too much, but I don't think it's going to throw away the run, but it's beautiful positioning by both cars. Transition timing here, great across the bumper to bumper, and then door to door across the line. Not too much aggression, but really demonstrated how to do a good chase.
Now Brandon Patrick is in the lead with that Z4. Alexander Jagger is in the chase. Waiting for the lights. Lights go green. Brandon's off to the races. Him coming out here, getting a nice little Scandinavia flick, but gets pushed off track from the chase driver. He is trying to get back online as they're going into this decel zone. Huge angle from Brandon Patrick. He's going to dive into that inner clip. Fails to hit that inner clip too. Going to the power alley as Alexander Jagger is trying to relive that chase run he had in the previous battle that he had. My goodness, Brandon Patrick, this is what I love to see. Guys that make contact and they want to fight through the battle.
Yeah, lead was able to maintain, keep driving, but there was a lot of contact in that, and that's where we talk about the over-aggression in the chase there. So both of them kind of dropped off track, but then they were able to collect themselves back together and complete the rest of this run. Huge angle, 90 degrees from the lead, but misses that inner clip relatively far. So we're starting to see a lot of drivers really, with that large angle, miss that inner clip. Overall, some spacing here from Chase. We're not seeing that aggression until the end of the run with that little door tap there. But I think too much aggression on initiation really set the tone for the rest of the run, where there was mistakes left and right from both lead and Chase.
Looks like we have come to the decision. Left for Patrick, right for Jagger. And Brandon Patrick moves on with the Z4. Wow, this has been the top 32 battles was rarely intense. You didn't see much I would say like mistakes, if you will. And the top 16 battles, we saw a lot more mistakes, a little bit easier for the judges to call. What are you looking at on this bracket so far here on the top 8 battles?
Yeah, I'm really looking at how people are going to control, how they're on the chase. I think all these drivers in the top 8 are locked in their lead runs. They're going to make very little mistakes, but nothing worth throwing a runaway. I think it's going to come down to the chase now. Everyone's going to throw down a borderline 100-point lead run, so now you have to make sure that you capitalize on your chase.
And right here you have these guys. We do server switches and to make sure that the connectivity is as best as possible. Sim competitions has a little bit of a different quirks than you would get in real life competitions. But here we go, our first battle of our Great 8. You have Reese Tatterson in the chase and Rob in the lead. Rob is in that 890 Supra. He is locked in with his seatbelts on, coming in with a nice initiation, going to that first out of zone. Reese Tatterson, huge angle, trying to get right to the pocket as best as possible. Punts that inner clip as they're going into this decel zone. Is Reese Tatterson going to hold it? Yes, he will, as he punts that other inner clip in the chase. Going into this power alley, 890 Supra is trying to get as much speed and momentum so he can fill out each zone. He fills out the second to last outer zone. Going to the final outer zone, Reese Tatterson moves forward in the pocket so he doesn't fall off track. My goodness, Reese Tatterson is absolutely killing it with that RTR.
Yes, great job from the 890 in the lead here, filling every zone. You can see Reese cutting a little bit of line, hitting inner clips, trying to maintain that proximity, but he does well through here. Look at this, right up on the door of Rob. And then you start to see pulling away. I think Reese has an early transition here, but he sets himself up well for the second to last outside zone where he gets right up onto the door. Transition timing here, Reese a little bit on the inside again, but Rob beautifully filling that outside zone.
We're going to have them switch sides. RTR versus A90. We saw this a couple weekends ago with James Dean, a Drift Masters driver. He was driving an RTR. He had Osbo, who was driving the A90. Let's see how they perform out here. Reese Tatterson coming in with a nice initiation. Tire drops. There's some contact on the initiation, but Reese Tatterson is able to massage the line so he can get back into that inner clip, touching it as they're going into this decel zone. He falls offline, misses that inner clip too, going to the power alley. Reese Tatterson is trying to reel himself back together as he is going to the second to last outer zone, to the final outer zone, as he is locking an angle with that RTR Mustang. That A90 Supra is putting that door right next to his.
Yes, Reese super aggressive here. Drop a little tire and then huge angle through that, but misses the inner clip. We're starting to see a trend here with large angle missing the inner clip. So drivers need to start either, doing that earlier or with less angle. Overall, I think, Reese had a great run in the lead position, huge angle, other than that big mistake around the inner clip. Rob in the chase was able to maintain that proximity and really stick with him, other than that contact in the outer zone 1, which did that push Reese off, or was that a Reese solo mistake?
Yeah, that's something that I'm pretty sure the judges are going to look at who's totally at fault on that one, but you got to give the lead driver some room so he could initiate. If you're going to surge into the pocket, you better be prepared to slow down, especially if they're initiating the way some of these guys do it.
Yep, there are 3 decel zones on this track, and the first one is on initiation. You have to let the car slow down, but also you have to make sure that your car is lighting off once you're inside of that outer zone. So it depends on where he was able to light off the tires and get it back on throttle, and that can kind of determine whether it was a lead or chase fault.
There we go. Slide to the left for Rob. Slide to right for Reese Tatterson. And it looks like Robert gets the win and moves on. Reese Tatterson gets knocked out of the competition. Beautiful performance from him with that RTR Mustang. Definitely did a great job. That's going to be some solid season points for the championship.
Yes, I agree. He was super aggressive, lots of angle, but small areas where we need to dial it in. So it's early in the season, got some points on the board, so he'll definitely have it figured out for the remaining rounds.
Yes, sirree. You have 2 weeks until the real life competition in Italy for the Drift Master Series. Vitaly Isaev versus Krzysztof Rabina. And here we go. Vitaly Isaev into the lead, getting a beautiful fill out on that first out of zone. As Krzysztof Rabina is using that S chassis to get right on the door of Vitaly Isaev's BMW Z4 as they're diving into inner clip 2, keeping that midline from the lead driver as they're going in to this power alley. Beautiful transitions from both of the drivers. Krzysztof Rabina is a little bit far forward in the pocket as they're going to this final outer zone, lock into angle, getting that proximity and marrying each other.
Yeah, I think overall great display, lead and chase. Not too many mistakes from either driver. Beautiful. You can see him left foot braking the entire first zone. Chase right up on the door, rubbing. Transition timing, bumper to bumper. Both of them matching angle, matching line, right around the inner clip, through the power alley here. You can see another bumper to bumper transition. Snap, snap. There you go. Except now you get the chase a little bit on the inside, choking up line a little bit through the last 2 outer zones. But overall, I think great lead run. He was relaxed, calm, cool, great chase run.
Here we go. Yeah, Krzysztof Rabina is now in the lead. Vitaly Isaev is in the chase. And this is the second half of this battle. Going in for a huge initiation is a huge tire drop from Shishov Rabina on that first outer zone. Here comes Vitaly Isaev, keeping that proximity right there. Diesel is huge from Shishov, barely touching that inner clip. Going to the power alley, beautiful fill out on that outer zone, going to the second outer zone. Oh my goodness, the speed and aggression from Shishov after the huge mistakes he had is definitely great on the second half of that lap.
Oh yeah, that was beautiful. Other than, you know, that lead tire drop in the outer zone one, but Chase positioned himself perfectly, slight rubbing on the door there, and then this transition here. We see it once and we see it again. A lot of angle from the lead, but missing that inner clip. Chase was able to capitalize on that and really stay right up in the pocket, right up on the door. Beautiful transition timing there. Maintain that proximity, that line, a slight gap there, but overall, I think the composure in the chase was clean, and he knew the job that he needed to do.
There we go. Slide it up for Isaev. Slide it right for Rabina. And it looks like Vitaly Isaev gets the win and moves on. Vitaly Isaev is in
Yeah, great run by both drivers. Yeah, we're definitely starting to see fewer and fewer mistakes. I think the biggest thing I've been seeing time and time again is these drivers that want to throw the large angle to slow down, they can't make that inner clip. And I think moving on into the rest of the rounds, or into the rest of the battles, we're going to start to see drivers clean that up, and you're going to start to see these crazy transitions and these crazy slowdowns.
Here we go. We have Zach Sullivan versus Peter Pelinkovich. Peter is in that Mustang, and Zach Sullivan is in the BMW. Zach Sullivan locked in, getting ready. Let's see how he performs here. Coming in with a nice initiation, lights off those tires, and here comes Peter with that Ford Mustang, knowing that Zach is a fierce competitor, a titan in the sim world, as he is going into the second inner clip, going all the way around to that outer zone after that. Ooh, that looks like a possible tire drop there, as Zach O'Sullivan tire drops again on the second last outer zone, going to the final outer zone and filling it all the way out, but Peter is not letting up of that door.
Yeah, Zach taking a nice wide line throughout the entire course, you know, whether that's dropping tires or not, that opens the door for the chase. He's able to maintain that proximity, maintain that close drive, this aggressiveness throughout the entire run. You can see them matching angle, matching speed, matching line, not too aggressive in the chase, and, you know, really capitalizing on Zach's wide line, whether he's tire dropping or not. It really opens the doors up for the chase there. So I think Zach needs to go into this next battle knowing he has to be aggressive and hoping that he'll have a mistake in the lead.
All right, we have Peter Pelinkovich in the lead now, and Zach O'Sullivan in the chase. Here we go. Big Scandinavian flick going to that first out of zone, and contact made from Zach O'Sullivan, and Peter falls off track as Zach O'Sullivan is going to continue on in the chase, and that's a huge mistake from Zach, but the judges are going to see if Peter possibly didn't light off on time. We'll play devil's advocate here. What's something that you would look at? I know in FD and other competitions you've done, there are some times you could protest. What would you look at as a spotter here?
Yeah, I'm just looking at, you know, how the lead driver's going. So looking at this replay here, you can see almost the lead. I don't know if he starts to come out of a little bit of angle or he didn't hop on throttle. Zach looks like he was aggressive. He was committed on that chase. It's just where that lead lights off. So it's where that decel zone ends is going to be where that zone picks up. So I think the judges are really going to be looking at when the lead picks up throttle and the closing gap between Zach and the lead there.
Oh, man. I feel like Zach is hoping that the judges go in his favor. Maybe one more time. I'm not too sure, but here we go. Decision has been made. Peter versus Zach O'Sullivan.
Yeah, and I think as a driver,
think
when you're in that position, you know when you make a mistake versus when you know the other driver made a mistake. So in Zach's head, I think he knows what happens. And then same thing
Mhm.
as well for Peter. So
Oh, and it
looks
looks
like
like
Zach gets the win.
Zach gets the win. The judges are probably gonna let us know what happened there. What are you thinking? What the judges saw?
Uh, I'm thinking they saw something on the initiation from Peter, and I could kind of see it in the replay that I saw where I don't know if Peter started shallow of angle or he didn't fully commit on the throttle, but it looked like Zach was kind of trying to mimic and do his initiation and then hop on throttle, and the lead was just not picking up the pace that Zach was anticipating.
All right, we have Brandon Patrick versus Artem Chokeov. Artem Chokeov being dapper with his suit jacket. Brandon Patrick, he's in the chase with the Z4 coming in here. Artem Chokeov coming in with a nice angle. Brandon Patrick tucks right into the pocket of Artem Chokeov, staying in the shadow of him as they're going into outer zone 2, transitioning into his D-cell. Brandon Patrick gets right to the door of Artem Chokeov. Artem Chokeov is cool, calm, and collective, just how he is looking with his suit jacket going to the second and last outer zone. Artie is getting real feisty in the lead, filling out each zone. Beautiful, beautiful performance from Artem Chokeov.
Artem with a beautiful display in the lead position, immediately right to angle in outside zone 1, filling it completely. But Brandon tucks right up in, like he knows exactly where he's going to be, and on this transition time, he's reading him. He knows where he's going to be. You see a lot of angle from Artem in the lead, which causes him to miss that out or that inner clip by just that small amount, which we've talked about before. Transition timing good from Brandon in the chase here, but chokes up a little bit in that outer zone, not fully up on the door. Through the last outer zone, you can see Brandon cool, calm, collected, like you were saying, and able to just complete the run and finish it up.
Now we have them switch sides. Brandon Patrick is going to be in the lead. Artem Chokeov in the chase. Artem Chokeov right there, getting ready, trying off his hands, trying to get a jump. Brandon Patrick getting as aggressive and tenacious as possible. Huge snap to angle right off the rip. And Artie is just right there. He knows how Brandon Patrick drives, and he's going to get right to the door of Brandon Patrick into that inner clip too. Artie laying down outgoing fire, going through this power alley as they're going to the second to last outer zone. Huge angle from Brandon Patrick with that Z4, going to the final outer zone, locked to angle. Artie is getting right there on the door, smoke screen, engaged.
Oh, absolutely beautiful. I love it. You can tell Brandon's happy about that lead run. Snaps right to angle, right up on throttle, but chase right up on the door. So we're going to have a really good look at these chase for chase battles. Big angle through this outer zone, except he's a little bit closer to the inner clip than in the previous lead run. Completes the rest of these outer zones here phenomenally, right on the edge, but the chase not choking up, not taking that shallower line, able to transition right up onto the door. So we're looking at, small mistakes in the lead versus small mistakes in the chase. So it's really going to be how do we outweigh one or the other? It's up to the judges now.
Left for Artie, right for Brandon Patrick. And Artem Chokeov gets the win. Chris wanted that one more time there, but Maddie and David just thought Artie took it away there, man. It was great.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great battle nonetheless. I think, Brandon had some small mistakes in his chase. His lead was very good, but yeah, those small mistakes in the chase, there was a few of them that I think really sealed the deal for that battle.
Yeah, we have our bracket here. Our top 4. We have Robert and Vitaly Isaev versus Artem Chokeov and Zach Sullivan. This is gonna be a feisty battle between Artie and Zach. They've competed against each other plenty of times on the sim. What are you looking at for the final four battles. As a spotter, what are you going to be telling these drivers, and who is specifically do you think needs to kind of like buckle up their seatbelts?
I mean, just looking at him, I think now we're getting to the point where you're going to trust the driver in front of you, and you're going to have to work with that trust because you're going to have to be aggressive. Like we have seen with Zach, we need that aggression in the chase. And I think if he can really commit that, his leads are really good. He just had a couple tire drops, but in the chase, if we can be really aggressive, seals the deal.
All right, here's the start of our final four battle. Winner moves on to the battle of first and second place. Loser goes to the battle of third. And my goodness, Vitaly Isaev is keeping the proximity right off the rip, not letting Rob get any breathing room as they're going into this decel zone. A surge from Vitaly Isaev into that second inner clip. He punts that cone as they're going into this power alley with that 890 Supra being super smooth and super aggressive on each zone, attacking it where it needs to be as he is going to this final outer zone, filling it all the way out real deeply as we see Vitaly Isaev keeping the pocket there.
Yeah, Rob, great job in the lead, but you can tell Vitaly in the chase, he's locked in. You can see these small little corrections just to get the car right in the right spot. Massaging the door of the car just beautifully, transition timing, matching this angle, matching line, not too aggressive, but maintaining that proximity just throughout the entire run. Both of them hitting the outer zones, matching that line, matching that angle. You can see Vitaly just left foot braking, just holding it back just enough, not being too aggressive. And right as we come across the finish line, he knows he can just, get up in there. Slightly shallow across that last outer zone, but overall great display in the chase and great job by Rob in the lead.
All right, we got Vachinski getting in that 890, had to back himself up a little bit as they're going to the line as Vitaly Isaev is in the lead, coming in with that BMW IRT as Robert is getting right there, close proximity right off the rip. A little bit of a shallower angle compared to the lead car, but now the transition into the decel zone, huge contact in that decel zone, trying to be super aggressive. That is a huge mistake from Robert as he is going through this power alley with Vitaly Isaev as they're going to the final two outer zones and filling it all the way out. Vitaly Isaev does a great job with that BMW Z4.
Yeah, Vitaly with the great job. And the thing we're going to see is in this outer zone, the huge angle on the deceleration, is it too much or was he in the right area? Great job by Rob in the chase here and great transition timing. Looking at this contact here, we can see him on the foot brake, big angle in that slowdown zone and the slight contact pushing him around that inside clip. Other than that, transition timing through here, Rob positioning himself well. You can see a little bit of smoke from the left foot braking, the transition time bumper to bumper, and then right in the pocket through the outside zone across the finish line.
I saw when he was in the first outer zone, his taillights were lit up so he could keep himself in that zone. Man, would it be is this something when you're spotting, if you notice your driver using the left foot brake through a zone, are you gonna tell him that, hey, you need to like clean that up, or are you saying you're good to go?
No, left foot braking is used as we'll talk about this battle first.
Vitaly Isaev gets the win and moves on. And Robert is gonna be moving on to the battle of third place and continuing on. What were you gonna say, Matt?
Yeah, it's the left foot braking. A lot of it's used to position the car, and as long as you're not, violently slowing the car down, which is something judges start to look at of how it's affecting, it's really helped to position the car. So if a car is excessively left foot braking, then yes, you'll be able to note that their speed is changing. They're kind of parking zones. But other than that, it's used for positioning. So you'll see it in the chase while the chase driver is gaining proximity.
Okay. Here we go. Artem Chokeov being as dapper as he can be. He's not using any racing gloves as well. I want to point that out. Most of these sim drivers use racing gloves, but here we go. Sullivan in the lead. Artem Chokeov in the chase, being super aggressive on initiation, but that kind of bites him on the tail because he had to back off as he is going into this decel zone, just trying to dive into the pocket of Sullivan, going around the second inner clip. Beautiful fill out from Zach. Another possible tire drop right there. Going into this power alley, transitioning another rumble strip tire drop as Vitaly or Artem Chokeov is trying to keep the proximity all the way through. There's a couple mistakes from Zach in the lead.
Yeah, Zach just giving the wide line. He just needs to tighten it up just a little bit. He's, a couple inches over, but overall, great job by the lead and chase. Zach forming a little bit of gap beautifully through zone 1. But yeah, in the chase there, you can see the aggression starts to come in here. Closing the gap, Zach takes a nice wide line, maybe a slight tire drop outside of those two outer zones, but a nice wide angle. Good angle from Zach in the lead position, but in the chase, he's able to get right up on the door and maintain that proximity. So I think there was some small mistakes due to proximity in the chase on that run. So Zach has something to capitalize on, and then in the lead, he just needs to maintain and not really drop tires.
Here we go, our last lap of this battle. Loser moves to the battle of third place. Winner moves on to the battle of first and second place. This is the first round of virtual drift masters as Artem Chokeov comes in with the initiation to the first outer zone and locking in angle. Here comes Zach Sullivan, keeping the proximity, lowering some angle so he can stay close to the door of Artem Chokeov as he gets that angle and dives into inner clip 2 as they're going into this power alley. Zach Sullivan is trying to reel him in right to the second to last outer zone, a little bit far forward in the pocket as they're going to the final outer zone, locked to angle, throttle all the way down from Artem Chokeov. Great job by him.
Yeah, great job by Artem. A little bit shallow in outer zone 1 though. I would like to see him significantly deeper, but in the chase there, you can see the aggression starts to come in. The proximity closes, lowering just a little bit of angle to maintain that proximity, but the patience around this inner clip here where we see a lot of contact is where he really shines. So Zach is able to maintain that proximity through these transitions here, but in the lead there, nice angle, good proximity by Zach there, a little bit on the inside, taking that shallower line, so he might be struggling with a little speed, but I would like to see him kind of bring that in for, if he can clean up his lead a little bit and not really drop tires, I think he can really make something happen.
And it looks like Zach Sullivan gets the win and moves on to the battle of first and second place. Now we're gonna see the battle for third place. And
yeah, just talking about that last battle really. No, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, talking about that last battle really quick, I think it really came down to, like, both had mistakes in their lead. You see Zach dropping a little bit of tire, and Vitaly in his lead, missing the inner clip a little bit, had some tire drops as well. So it came down to the aggression in chase, and I think Zach was a little bit more aggressive on his end.
Definitely, for sure. Now, we are having our finals going on. You see the bracket there. This next battle is for third place. Are we gonna have a 2-camera here? I believe so. Another 2-camera battle, third place battle. Robert Vachinski versus Artem Chokeov. Artem Chokeov is in the chase here. Robert Vachinski in the lead. Oh man, you saw Robert, big deep breath. He knows this means a lot here. Gets a nice jump from Artem Chokeov. Here we go, battle for third place. Nice initiation from the lead driver Robert as he is going into interclip 1. And man, oh man, Artem Chokeov has been dialed in with that BMW, locking into angle, using the angle to slow himself down so he could get right to the pocket on that inner clip 2, going to this power alley, massaging the angle so he can stay as close as possible, even through transition, going to this final outer zone, absolutely surgical with that BMW.
Yeah, great job in the lead by Rob, but Artem in the chase was just able to capitalize on all of the perfect line that Rob laid down. You can see first outside zone, Rob right out there, and Artem just right up in the door, rubbing through this transition. Beautiful transition timing there, right up on the bumper, and the patience here. He didn't get into contact. They both were able to make it out of that clean and then move on to the power alley here. Through those bumper-to-bumper transitions, both of them locking their rear bumpers in the outside zone, and the final transition here into the last outside zone, both drivers, Rob in the lead, filling that zone, and Artem in the chase, able to just lock it in.
Man, you have Robert now going to be in the chase. Artem Chokeov. I nickname him Artie because he loves laying down some smoke screens and suppressing fire throughout each run. And here he comes. Battle for third place. Artem Chokeov going into that first outer zone. And here comes Robert Vachinski keeping that proximity with that 890 Supra. He knows he needs to lay down a killer chase lap as they're going to interclip 2. Beautiful fill out, but a little bit of a midline on that interclip 2 from Artem Chokeov, using some left foot braking and adapting his car. Oh, it looked like a possible tire drop in the second class outer zone, and a gap has formed on the final outer zone.
Yeah, Artem with a huge angle throughout all of his zones here. You can see him rolling burnout all the way to the line. Big flick, lights off, right in the outside zone there. But Rob, right up on the door. He's able to, a little bit shallower angle, but able to maintain that proximity. Do this transition here, slightly shallower from Rob, but playing it safe. Don't want to get lost. A little bit of tire rubbing, and then we go through the power alley here. Transition timing a little bit shallower from Rob. Artem, big angle in the outside zone, really hangs it out there. But Rob, big checkup and loses all that proximity. Dives back in at the end, but huge mistake from Rob there on that last transition. I think he had a really big checkup right behind the lead there.
All right. Slider left for Vachinski. Slider right for Chokeov. It looks like different names. And it looks like Vachinski gets the win for third place. Artem Chokeov is in fourth. And now, ladies and gentlemen, this is the battle for first and second place. I hope you guys in chat have been enjoying this. Definitely give us a follow in Twitch if you're watching on Twitch, and subscribe on the YouTube channel. Every round that we do is about 2 weeks before the actual Drift Masters round, and we're gonna see the absolute phenomenal performance from these sim drivers. We also have Drift Masters drivers that compete in the virtual series. Our final battle is Vitaly Isaev versus Zach O'Sullivan.
Yeah, this is going to be a great battle. Both drivers have been just dominating all day, and I think they both have small mistakes that they've made in each one of their separate battles that they know they can capitalize moving forward. So, like we were talking with Zach, just cleaning up that lead run a little bit, maintaining that aggression in the chase. Yeah, but overall, I think this will be a great battle.
Oh boy. Here is the battle for first and second place. And ladies and gentlemen, we're at Italy. The first round for Drift Masters that's coming in the next 2 weeks. Actually, yeah. Here we go. Vitaly Isaev in the chase, Zach O'Sullivan in the lead. We're waiting for the lights. And we're gonna get the battle for the finals down. Here we go. Zach O'Sullivan in the BMW E36 coming in with the red fire into that first outer zone as Vitaly Isaev had to massage angle so he doesn't fall out of drift. Using that left foot brake to keep the proximity as Zach O'Sullivan gets right there and lights off the tires, gets a midline on the second inner clip, and going into this power alley, huge potential for the battle. A little bit of a tire drop from Zach O'Sullivan on the second to last outer zone, going to the final outer zone. Vitaly Isaev getting doors, baby.
What a great run. Yeah, Zach was able to just get it immediately into outside zone 1, light off, but held it a little bit on the inside, so small correction, causing, a big mistake on his end in the chase. But over here, we got beautiful transition timing, bumper to bumper, patience in the chase, which is like what we like to see, so that way he can be aggressive through the rest of the power alley. Zach coming here, big tire drop on this second to last outer zone, which his chase is able to capitalize on, bumper to bumper transition, and Zach and Chase both filling last outside zone. Some left foot brake from the chase and a little bit of shallower line in that second or that last outside zone. But I think this next battle, he's really gonna demonstrate what he can do in the lead.
Here we go. Vitaly Isaev in the lead. Sullivan in the chase. Coming in right, nice initiation, going to that first outer zone and getting all the way through. And BMW E36 getting right close proximity as best as possible as they're huge decel, and Sullivan is able to catch it as they're going into this power alley and getting that proximity alive. Going to the final two outer zones. Sullivan is forward in the pocket, and Vitaly Isaev is going to the final outer zone. Beautiful fill out.
Yeah, Vitaly, great job in the lead. Had some little tire drops, big angle around the inner clip area, but was able to make it stick. Zach in the chase, aggressive initiation, almost looks like a little contact, but Vitaly was able to keep it locked in. Small tire drop on this outside zone 3 transition, huge angle, able to get the car slowed down. A little bit of contact from Zach, it looks like, but able to keep it calm and collected in the lead. I don't think I see any real tire drops. Beautiful. Zach was a little bit shallow in that second to last outside zone on that line, but able to make it stick across the finish line on the door.
Here we go. Vitaly Isaev to the left. Sullivan to the right. This will be the winner. And Sullivan wins round 1 of Virtual Drift Masters. Vitaly Isaev gets second place. And man, oh man, the absolute beautiful battles we've seen here on the sim. Matt, how you feel about your first time being in the booth commentating these battles?
I enjoy it. It's very fast-paced, but I like living life fast-paced. So I think Zach did a great job. He did what he needed to do. He brought the aggression in the chase that he needed to, and he cleaned up a lot of his things in his lead that we were discussing before. So like we were talking, he was able to keep the aggression under control, but to a certain level where he needs to be, and then his lead, he's able to clean it up and really bring it home. So great job to him. Congratulations.
Yeah, and they have plenty of more rounds for the championship. Man, the whole bracket here has been stacked. You got Rob getting third place. You have Isaev getting second place. Zach Sullivan in the first place position. And these guys have been doing a phenomenal job. They jump on the sim. They also jump on multiple different. They also jump in real life experience as well. And so with Matt, you came in here. We had conversations yesterday. You're a little bit concerned on how it kind of works virtual wise. What's your feeling with sim and real life competition wise? And you've experienced multiple different avenues.
Oh yeah, I enjoy this sim side competition. I love watching them and seeing them even when I'm not commentating or competing, because the level of driving is so much higher, and you can really see each driver just lock in. And the battles are every single battle from top 32 on is like a final battle in any real life competition. So just seeing the drivers being able to progress and then capitalize on each other's mistakes and then improve on themselves run to run. It's really good to see these drivers progress through the ranks.
Yeah, and here we go. We have our rounds here. We have 7 rounds, and we are mimicking the same track layouts as real Drift Masters. As you can see, the next round is going to be in May, and every day we see these talented drivers compete in different sim competitions and getting themselves prepared. Matt, if you were a spotter today, what are you telling one driver if they failed in top 32?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I would say just focus on hitting your marks and being consistent, bringing that consistency to the table and being able to do everything run after run without these wild mistakes. So going back and looking at your replays and seeing where you're falling behind and seeing what other drivers are doing properly in that area is something that these drivers need to be doing. So, if you're knocked down in top 32 or something, go back and look and see exactly what mistakes that you've made, and then go back to the sim even after this round and try and replicate what you did and then improve on it. So going into the next rounds and everything, the areas that you're making mistakes and how to improve and make yourself better.
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Matt. everything. It's like getting your insight. It's been refreshing. I am wishing you the best of luck with this year, you being a spotter for Formula Drift with LZ, as well as everybody that's competing in Drift Masters that competed in the sim. I wish you guys the best of luck as well. We're going to be heading out here. We'll catch you guys next time on the second round of Virtual Drift Masters. My name is Jonathan Tiny Warby, and I've been here with Matt the Ginge. And Matt, have a good day, man. And you, everybody here, have a great weekend.
It's been a pleasure. Thank you.
Virtual Drift Masters is back in 2025 and it's coming in hot. This season, 10 Drift Masters pros step into the sim to battle 40 of the last season's best virtual drivers in a showdown like no other. With 7 rounds of high-stakes action and top 32 broadcasts every Sunday, the stage is set for something legendary. And calling all the action, you may ask? It's me, Tiny, bringing the hype, the energy, and every tire-shredding moment. This is Virtual Drift Masters 2025. Let's go.